they that the Dolphins were going to win.
Oh, did they?
Yeah. Like what?
Yeah.
Where? What games have you been watching all season?
So not only have the three of us perfected news talk in the morning,
Yeah.
we're also reinventing sports analysis,
Making it great again.
making it great again.
Yep.
Don't tell the people down the hallway that. They would disagree.
Although we did say Friday, we all did say that the Phillies were going to wrap it up this weekend. And
That's true.
But it's good that they're coming home to wrap it up. So.
Yeah.
Get to do it today at 5:07 in front of the home crowd.
Oh, I love 5:07 games because the Astros couldn't get it done last night, right?
I know, they're going 7 games.
Oh my God!
There you go.
They got their doors blown off.
It's never easy, folks. It is never easy.
We all want a Houston
Yes.
Phillies World Series again.
I want to go through that dynasty.
Yeah.
I want to take Jose Altuve out.
The cheaters.
The cheaters they are. I know. A lot of good things to get to this morning. We have a free speech POTUS perspective big take. Meta and Facebook are censoring speech when it comes to Israel and the Middle East. Jim Jordan, he might be able to keep trying, but he's never going to get there. And he's been removed. Byron Donalds, come on down. We'll get to that and many other good things as we move along this morning, including an action-packed cut sheet at 7:45. But let's get to the news. There's a lot of it. Round number one, away we go on a Monday at 6:05. The great Dawn Stensland.
Yes, good Monday morning. Monday, October 23rd, the day we hope our Phils will get her done. We'll talk about sports in just a moment. We're sponsored this morning by Consumer Cellular. I know we're starting out quite chilly, but the clouds will clear a bit, and the wind, that's a factor too. So we'll talk about all of that moving forward this morning in the news. As we think about the Phils this evening, about the same time, formal remembrances for slain Philadelphia police officer Richard Mendes begin today. Officer Mendes, of course, shot and killed while trying to stop a car break-in at Philadelphia International Airport parking garage. So there will be two events honoring the 22-year veteran of our Philadelphia Police Department. The public viewing will be today between 5:30 to 8:30 at Givnish Funeral Home. That's Academy Road in Philadelphia. Tomorrow is the second viewing from 8 a.m. to 11 a.m. Cathedral Basilica of Saints Peter and Paul right on Ray Street in Philadelphia. So pay attention if you're traveling either today or tomorrow morning. Obviously, there will be road closures for these very large remembrances. The funeral service for Officer Mendes will be held immediately after tomorrow, but that seating inside the Basilica is reserved for family, friends, law enforcement personnel coming from across the nation, as well as dignitaries. So there will be many crowds outside the Basilica, no doubt paying their tributes, but a lot of the local stations, I'm sure our sister station, everybody's going to be streaming that, which is a bit rare. They don't always offer that. That's a post-pandemic or pandemic thing where the Catholic Church will offer that streamed live for those grieving and who want to pay their respects. So Officers Mendes and Raul Ortiz, as you well know by now, because we've been talking about this tragedy that unfolded October 12th, late at night, the officers just coming on the job and confronting these four suspects. One suspect shot and killed a teenager. The other three are all in custody, under arrest, facing multiple charges, including first-degree murder charges. So they have caught up with all of those suspects facing justice now. Officer Raul Ortiz recovering at home. One firefighter was killed, another injured in a crash while responding to an emergency call over the weekend. This is Chester County, North Pottstown Pike, and Euclid Township. So according to West Whiteland Fire Company, firefighters Colin Reddy, who was 25, Emily Gindel, 24, responding to that call during a heavy downpour. Remember that heavy rain we had. Their vehicle, we don't know the exact circumstances. It's still under investigation, but ultimately the vehicle left the roadway, struck a tree, and tragically 25-year-old Colin Reedy pronounced dead at the scene. His girlfriend, Emily Gindel, she was rushed to the hospital. She's in critical condition. They were planning on getting married, having a life together, hitting the entire community so hard.
Yeah, it's terrible.
Just two beloved, people in the community who were first responders. So A lot of people rooting for her. I believe there's a GoFundMe that they're starting up for her and her parents and so on. Let's turn you to U.S. Senator Bob Menendez, New Jersey, returning to court today to enter an expected not guilty plea to a conspiracy charge alleging he says he did not act as an agent of the Egyptian government, even as he chaired the Senate Foreign Relations Committee.
I was not a secret agent here, folks. Innocent until proven guilty.
So Democrat stepping down from his powerful post, leading the Senate committee after he had been, charged last month and earning the nickname Gold Star Bob, etc. His wife, Nadine Menendez, is also accused, along with him, of accepting cash, cars, or one luxury car that we know of, over the past 5 years from 3 New Jersey businessmen in exchange for a variety, allegedly, of corrupt acts. So we'll be following that one. He'll be in court today, but again, expected to plead not guilty. He has resisted calls now from more than 30 Democrats that he resign. On the Republican side, I know Nick Hill will get to this, but the headline this morning, and then there were 9. So yes, we have 9. House Republican Conference Chair Elise Stefanik yesterday announced 9 candidates have joined the race for Speaker after Congressman Jim Jordan, Republican from Ohio, dropped his bid last week. So the deadline was noon yesterday, and so we'll expect more today as they move their case forward. One of those 9, I will say, and none of them are huge names, but Dan Musier of Pennsylvania, one of the Republican 9.
Yeah, not a good day for Jimbo on Friday in the afternoon.
Jeez.
From 20 to 22 to 25, he's like, this is going the wrong direction.
I know. And then, of course, Saturday Night Live. They never make fun of Biden, but they of course, lead off with him.
Oh, yeah.
I know Greg will get to that.
Yep.
I didn't even think it was funny.
No, I didn't see it. I'm usually asleep at that time of night on Saturday.
Here's the thing about the Trump impersonator. He's good.
But he's not our boy.
But Sean is way better. Sean Farash, way better.
I thought the same thing.
Like, I don't even want to...
Yeah. Does the current Trump impersonator on SNL, does he remotely look like him?
Well, he wears a wig. And
okay. Because I don't know that Sean could actually pull off the look. Sean's got a very distinct look. I don't know how much masks and makeup and Hollywood.
They can make you look like anything on that show.
Okay. Oh, we know he's got the sound down. That's for sure.
Yeah. Now everybody pales in comparison to Sean.
I know. He's great.
Yeah.
I completely agree with you. I thought that last night. I thought if you put a blonde wig on Sean, you did the hair and makeup, a little bronzer.
Yeah.
I could do... You know how I used to make up Zioli when we do a little bronzer, do the blue blazer, the red tie. Come on.
All right, let's make it happen.
What do you think?
We should start a petition for that. And then Sean has to give us a cut when he gets rich.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, that's not going to happen unless unless you're going to be like a joint. You work a full-time job and then maybe you're his agent or something. Is that what you're thinking?
Yeah, possibly. Yeah, I take 33% up front.
30%.
That's correct.
Holy moly!
33.
It's the way agents work.
World Series action tonight. We'll talk about that. Very excited. But let's get to Eagles. Kelly Green. So much excitement as our Eagles beat the Dolphins. Everybody said, oh, they're the best offense. Well, we had some surprise little defense, didn't we now? The Lynx, we beat them 31-17. And this is a comeback rebound situation against the Jets, the Jets just got lucky basically last week, but we're back on track. So let's listen. Following the tough loss, Eagles offense came out hot. Jake Elliott back on track, getting the ball rolling for that early 3-zip lead.
Here is Elliott for the short field goal attempt. Spotted, kicked up, and it is good.
Nice.
Yeah. I saw everybody complaining on Twitter after the Eagles went right down the field and got a field goal, ripping the offensive coordinator. We can't score touchdowns in the red zone. I'm like, I will never be mad at an opening possession that results in points. Like, it's the opening drive. Just relax a little bit.
And usually the opening drive determines absolutely nothing.
That's correct.
I love it. Well, let's go to another one.
Yes.
4 quarters.
Hurts continues to get Dallas Goedert more involved following a few solid completions there. In the second quarter, Hurts finds Goddard open right near the end zone.
Hurts in the gun. It is 2nd down and 9. They have to get to the 10. Hurts fakes, Hurts fires, and it goes to Goddard, who's at the 10, the 5. Touchdown, Dallas Goddard!
It's that tight end screen once again. This time they take it to the left side. They get big Jordan Mailata out in front of Dallas Goddard. The tight end screen, it's a two-man screen, and it's executed to perfection.
Yesterday was National Tight End Day, by the way. Did you guys realize that?
I'm sorry I didn't get you guys anything.
Yeah, National Tight End Day yesterday.
Because you always got to take care of your tight ends.
That's correct.
All right, let's listen. Let's go for our third one here. Tua and the Dolphins showed their offensive skill at night, but star cornerback Darius Slay picked up Tua to ice the win for the Birds. Merrill Reese on the call.
Empty backfield. Back goes Tagovailoa. He lets it fly, going deep, and it is intercepted. It's Slay who picks it off. He's at the 20, and he goes down. Interception. It's a takeaway. A takeaway. A Takeaway. The Eagles have one.
Whoa.
You know, Mike, the more I think about it, Darius Slay has a very tight end. I know he's a
that's not
cornerback, but on National Tight End Day, what a play by Slay.
It was exciting for our Eagles and their Kelly. I love the old school throwback Kelly Green,
so
31-7.
beautiful.
Didn't you love it?
Can't we just make that permanent?
I
Like, those
know.
are so much nicer than the normal
I
midnight
agree.
green.
I agree.
Not that midnight green's bad, but that Kelly Green just really pops.
Woo! Well, we are one away, baby, from taking the NLCS and heading to the you-know-what, the big World Series, which starts this Friday, so we got to get her done tonight.
Yes.
5:07. Gates open 2-ish. So there are a lot of parties and activities all day, even if you don't have a ticket. I imagine Anthony Duranzo will be with Sailor Twift in a box somewhere tonight. We'll be waving.
We're doing hits this afternoon, right? Is he going? Are you sending him down there again?
Yes, yeah. They'll be down there for the Dom show, and I think the first hour or so of Rich's show.
All right.
Fun. So we got that going on. We are sponsored by Consumer Cellular, offering unlimited talk and text on every plan starting at $20 a month. Stay connected in rain, sleet, and snow with their premium nationwide 5G coverage, no contract, and free activation. Just visit consumercellular.com to just switch away. And the NBC 10 first alert forecast after last week's rain and kind of crazy weather. Today, the winds will die down. That's the good news. I know we're 48 degrees and clear, but 62 for your high. So bright sunny skies today and tomorrow, I should say. 62 today, 67 for your tomorrow, 71 by Wednesday. But if we're looking at 5:07 first pitch, we're told that the 15-mile-an-hour winds will calm down, hopefully by the time our Phils clinch it tonight. That's Kayal Company News Live.
Beautiful, Dawn. Thank you very much. 6:16 Monday morning as we kick off another week with another Big Take.
The Big Take on Kayal Company.
All right, the Big Take this morning, the hypocrisy of free speech from a presidential perspective. You know, over the course of 13 months on this show, we've probably done 4 or 5 big takes on the First Amendment and free speech. We talk about censorship and silencing voices on a monthly, if not a weekly basis here on Kayal Company. And it never gets redundant or repetitive because fighting for your First Amendment rights are worth the battle every single time. Hell, it's the branding of the station, and it's plastered right on your Kayal Company t-shirts and sweatshirts. Free speech lives here. During the pandemic, you were silenced, censored, and canceled for voicing your views on COVID, the vaccine, masks, and anything that the left said was gospel that you felt otherwise about. I believe the United States would love to rule its citizens just like China does. And since that's not truly attainable here in America, in large part because Americans would rise up, the establishment will have to settle for the next best thing, shutting you up through fear and intimidation on social media, perhaps costing you your job and certainly flagging your posts. But today I want to examine how a stark contrast with how the current and past administration act and how they are treated when it comes to canceling, silencing, and censoring you. Think about this for a moment. The current president basically gagged you on Facebook, Twitter, and other social media outlets between 2021 and 2022. And the former president is being gagged by every judge known to man in his ongoing court cases. But where and when does this start? Well, the answer might be very simple. Here's Bill Maher from his show on Friday night on HBO talking about the origins and the roots of free speech censorship. Listen and watch.
When the First Amendment watchdog group Foundation for Individual Rights and Expression began ranking colleges based on their commitment to free speech and inquiry, Harvard came in dead last. There's only one set of acceptable opinions on campus, and it's policed hard. The old dorm room bull sessions? It's less risky shooting the in Scientology. John Stuart Mill wrote that he who knows only his own side of the case knows little, to which today's college students respond, he and his are cis pronouns.
Harvard, college students, one set of acceptable opinions, and it's policed hard. The stifling of the marketplace of ideas. Free speech in court cases. That's the backdrop of today's big take as we look at this through the lens of the Biden administration and what they did to you and compare it to what the government is doing to Donald Trump. Late on Friday afternoon, word came down that the Supreme Court, the highest court in the land, will take up Biden v. Missouri, which is the landmark case that alleges that the Biden administration colluded with big tech companies to censor American speech. And I'm not embellishing when I say this, but this case could be the most important case before the Supreme Court in my lifetime. This could absolutely result in a monumental ruling when it pertains to free speech on the internet. A revolutionary decision is looming. And if you believe in free speech and were shut down by Facebook or Twitter during the pandemic at the request of the Biden administration, this is a case that you too should absolutely be paying attention to. And then when it comes to censorship and a president, we get to the silencing and the gag orders imposed on a defendant as well as a presidential candidate, that being Donald Trump. In New York, Trump is being silenced in his civil court case where he is being sued for $250 million. Last Thursday morning, Trump showed up for a second straight day for his trial in the fraud case brought by New York Attorney General Letitia James and presided over by Judge Arthur Engoron. During a break in the proceedings, Trump told reporters that he had struck a knockout blow in court that would soon lead the case, in which Trump has already been ruled liable for fraud, to soon be dismissed. Quote, "This was like Perry Mason," Trump said, end quote. An attorney for the state asked the judge to silence Trump. Moments after that, when he interrupted a witness during a heated exchange at his trial. From New York to Washington, D.C., the gag orders and the silencing of Trump continue. Last Friday, though, Judge Tanya Chutkan actually gave Trump a small break. Per Axios, Chutkan agreed to temporarily freeze her narrow gag order on former President Donald Trump for the 2020 federal election case. Chutkan granted the temporary stay shortly after Trump's team requested the narrow gag order issued earlier this week be lifted while the 2024 presidential candidate legal challenges play out. Chutkan gave Trump's lawyers more time to explain their request and froze the order until at least this week on October the 28th. Trump's team called the order breathtakingly overbroad in a court filing, claiming that it violated, quote, virtually every fundamental principle of our First Amendment jurisprudence. It's unclear how long appealing the gag order will take. Chutkan in the gag order barred Trump from public statements that were going to target special counsel Jack Smith or his staff, witnesses, or court staff. And earlier on Friday, the judge overseeing former president's New York civil fraud trial fined the former president $5,000 for violating his gag order. So you have one administration that wants to shut you up, as well as their chief political rival. And then the other former administration believes in a robust First Amendment and the ability to speak up and speak out in opposition to another belief. But don't just take it from me or anybody here on 1210 WPHT. Take it from noted and reputable legal scholar Jonathan Turley, who said the following on Twitter this weekend, quote, "The Trump gag order should concern everyone who values freedom of speech. While the odds may favor Judge Chutkan on appeal, this order should be overturned as overbroad and dangerous." You know, we live in a political spectrum that loves to use the phrase threat to democracy, and both sides are guilty of it. But I think Jonathan Turley would agree with me when I say that freedom of speech being squashed by the government is the biggest threat to democracy of all. And we know who and what side is leading the charge. And that's the big take.
The Big Take on on Kayal and Company.
All right, big take this morning. If you would like to jump in, 855-839-1210 is how you climb in. 855-839-1210 on social media at 1210 WPHT, and, of course, on YouTube. Just go to youtube.com/at1210 WPHT. Hit the like and subscribe buttons and be a part of the Kayal and Company comment community. We'll come back, get some thoughts and reaction to that, as well as the latest censorship from Facebook. And then also we have to get to Jim Jordan and Byron Donalds this hour as well. Busy morning. It's a Monday morning on Kayal and Company, and we're back after this on Talk Radio 1210 WPHT. But first, let me tell you about my friends at the Piazza Auto Group. You know, a great weekend. I had to do some hauling around of some stuff, not really heavy-duty stuff, but, man, the 2023 Honda Ridgeline Black Edition truck came in handy. And if you're a truck person like me, now's a great time to visit Piazza Honda in Springfield, or you can check them out in Philadelphia, Langhorne, Pottstown, or Reading, because you can still cash in on 0.9% APR financing, or you can get special finance rates on the Civic, the Accord, the CRV, the Pilot, and many more. The Piazza Auto Group, 17 brands, 35 locations. My go-to for all things automotive. To find your new or certified pre-owned vehicle today, just check them out online, piazzaautogroup.com.
This is an important notice to consumers facing $10,000 or more in credit card debt, medical bills, or other unsecured debt. You may not be required to pay it all back because there are special programs now in effect that will significantly reduce the amount you will owe if you qualify. This is not bankruptcy or a debt consolidation loan. These programs, which the credit card companies like to keep secret, exist to aid American consumers struggling with overwhelming credit card debt by offering tremendous savings and real debt relief. Accredited Debt Relief has established a special hotline for you to call and learn what savings you qualify for. They've helped qualify consumers with over $1 billion in debt and are A+ rated with the Better Business Bureau. So don't wait. Get the relief you need during these hard economic times. For this free information, call the Accredited Debt Relief Hotline now. Call 800-873-7171. 800-873-7171. 800-873-7171.
Hi, this is Dom Giordano. You've heard me for years talk about the health benefits of Rescue Natural Supplements after making their omega-3s as part of my daily routine. From supporting heart health to promoting pain relief, they provide essential nutrients that impact our bodies in so many ways. Listen to this recent comment from Jeff. He says the benefits of Rescue Omegas are worth it. Helps reduce my inflammation and lower my cholesterol. Been taking it for years. See, people like Jeff have trusted Rescue with their health goals, and now it's your turn. For a limited time, use the code OMEGA50 for an exclusive buy one, get one free offer on any of the 7 Rescue Omega-3 choices. To get this special radio offer, call 800-26-ALIVE, 800-262-5483. Use the code online at res-q.com. That's res-q.com. Remember the code OMEGA50, OMEGA50. Buy one, get another Rescue Omega-3 absolutely free.
The 2-minute warning, the caution flag, the 4. PNC Bank believes in the power of a helpful watch out. That's why they created low cash mode, the new financial watch out that gives you multiple options and at least 24 hours of extra time to help avoid overdraft fees. Low cash mode on virtual wallet from PNC Bank. Available in all virtual wallet products. To learn more, visit pnc.com/low cash mode. PNC Bank, National Association, member FDIC.
Hey, this is Mike Quick. If you're in the restaurant, hospitality, or casino business and your point-of-sale system isn't helping you sell more, earn more, or work less, you need to talk to my friends at PDQ Signature Systems. PDQ has everything you need for success. PDQ POS is the fastest, easiest, and most reliable POS system available. Whether you have a single location restaurant or thousands of locations, Joe Flynn and his team will create a custom game plan that will help your business succeed. Visit PDQPOS.com.
Marvin E. Cann's Heating, Air Conditioning, and Duct Cleaning has been serving the mainline and surrounding areas for 3 generations. If your furnace or heat pump is 15 years old or your boiler is 20 years old, well, this winter you might be out in the cold. Don't be left out in the cold this winter. Call Marvin E. Cann's Heating, Air Conditioning, and Duct Cleaning now to get your HVAC system serviced. And if it needs to be replaced, Marvin E. Can suggests you do it now and not wait till it breaks in the heart of winter. Visit marvinecans.com. That's marvinecans.com.
Hey, Riverton. We know your favorite station is Talk Radio 1210 WPHT. Always live on the free Odyssey app.
Life's the same, I'm moving in stereo. Life's the same, except for my shoes.
6:29. Welcome back in Monday morning here on Kayal and Company. Hopefully all of you had a nice weekend as we get another work week going. Nick, Dawn, and Greg, Talk Radio 1210. WPHT. Get us on the free Odyssey app. Watch us live on YouTube. What's on the cut sheet at 7:45 this morning? Some good SNL stuff, some good Bill Maher stuff, and a whole bunch of others from the Sunday shows and all the talking head circuits. 855-839-1210 to climb in. So I thought it was pretty interesting. I felt like there was a lot of news that came out Friday afternoon, from Jim Jordan to Byron Donalds, which we will get to coming up in the next segment, to also, some of these gag orders and Trump violating a gag order and being fined. Like, what, I don't know what fining Donald Trump does. When you fine him $5,000, that would be like Stocker fining me $1.29. It's not going to mean much to him. But that comes out on Friday. And then also, and I really think, and I know when you hear Supreme Court cases, it makes your eyes roll over and glaze over. It can be a bit monotonous, especially when some of these justices give their opinions. And it's like trying to read the Old Testament. It's very difficult to process sometimes. But when you think about what's going on here, we have one guy who has gag orders and is being told not to say this and not to post that. And then the other guy tried to shut you down in 2021 and 2022 for challenging the government and the CDC and the Faucis of the world. And now this Biden v. Missouri case is going to go right to the Supreme Court. And it's really going to impact, I think, the future of what limitations will be placed on you, the citizen, on social media and the internet, whether it's through companies like Facebook and Meta and Google and X, or whether it's directly from the United States government. So I think that is something to keep an eye on. And then also, really, when you look at the gag order from Trump, Jonathan Turley is pretty much my go-to for, trying to see if my opinion aligns with his. He's the smartest guy in the room, legitimately. And he says the following on his website, jonathanturley.org. The Trump gag order should be struck down. And Turley does tell you, he's no apologist for Donald Trump. He says, despite my longstanding criticism of Trump's personal attacks on judges and critics, this gag order should be curtailed or struck down on appeal. The imposition of a gag order on former President Donald Trump was overwhelmingly applauded by pundits and press alike. However, this order should concern everyone who values freedom of speech. While the odds may favor the judge on appeal, this order should be overturned as overbroad and dangerous. And that's kind of the theme and the word that I think makes the most sense for both of these cases. And I'd love to get people's reaction to this, because it's really, if you think about it, it's really the same group of people crushing multiple people. You've got the Biden administration that shut you down during the pandemic, still wants to do it today. And it's Biden's DOJ that is trying to shut down Donald Trump on many different fronts in many different court cases. So I think that is worth keeping an eye on as we move forward, not just on the Trump front, but the Biden v. Missouri, and that's going to be a long case. It's going to take forever. But just keep doing like news searches on that, and we'll try to update you as that moves along. But, I think here's the thing, Dawn, when you talk about us at this show and this station, I mean, if there's one thing we all agree on across the board is valuing free speech. And it just seems like no matter which way you turn, the powers that be, they really want to limit that ability of the American citizens, and including Trump. And which is why Trump says, look, if they can do this to me, they can do it to you. And he's one of the most powerful men on the planet. So if they can do it to him, they can do it to Nick, Kayal, Dawn Stenzland, and everybody else.
Yeah, and I think that does play well with Trump supporters. Mm-hmm. So if you think of the most loyal conservatives, the MAGA conservatives, who voted for Trump, and I don't think he's lost. I don't think he's lost his base as far as that base, and I don't think that he will. I think for those of us who follow this, and you look at, Trump's ex-lawyer or advisor, Michael Cohen, he's going to be back, I guess, in court in New York City this week after he was, I guess, scared to face Trump and he said he had a medical issue last week, But I just think that all of this is making people grow weary. When you think of all the drama constantly, and I think that's what they wanted. They wanted to knock Trump off of the campaign trail, and that's why he has said campaign interference. I think as far as this case in Manhattan, Letitia James, it's ridiculous.
Yeah.
The whole case, if you really read through it, and we have, it will be overturned. But that takes years in court. And so we have a 2024 election. They all know that. And so what was her mantra when she was running for office? She was just saying, I'll get him.
Yeah.
I mean, you could play the sound. I think you have. I mean,
It's almost the same campaign as Alvin Bragg's.
Yeah. Yes. So I don't worry about the fact, is this truly a serious case? It's not. If you read through it and you understand it, and as well the fact that some of these allegations go back to 2011 and they've already thrown a bunch of them out. So what's this about? It's about wearing not only Trump down when he's supposed to be full energy on the campaign trail.
It's like death by 1,000 paper cuts.
Yes. Well put.
Yeah.
And the expense, even though he's a wealthy man, the expense of it all, and just, I think any ordinary citizen if you were not running for president, you have this many legal cases being thrown at you.
Yeah.
The average person would be, locked in a room looking at the corner.
Yeah.
I mean, this is insane.
Taking plea bargains, trying to cop a deal, running out of funds to pay your lawyers because lawyers are absurdly expensive. And you said this galvanizes him and rallies behind, his base. That's a no-brainer. To me, the classic liberal claims to value free speech, like the Bill Maher's of the world. So I would say, how does this resonate with anybody to the left of MAGA Republicans, whether that's just a classic conservative, whether that's a moderate Republican, an independent, a moderate Democrat, or a classic liberal? I'm wondering, when they see all of these stories and all of these cases, and they look at Biden v. Missouri on free speech on the internet, and then they look at gag orders on Trump, if you are anybody that's not a Trump lover and you value free speech, but you hate Donald Trump, That's I think kind of like the balancing act where it's like, okay, Trump's never been a guy I've been a big fan of, but man, they are really trying to silence him. And maybe there's people out there that are moderates or independents that were against getting the COVID vaccine and maybe shared an opinion or two about it on social media and had their post flagged. I wonder if this will sway people over to this side of the ledger and in this camp when you look at all of these stories with censorship.
Yeah, I think that the average person is not following all of this like
sadly.
we are. And so the problem is that the media narrative right now, amidst very serious times with the invasion of Israel, and last night and this morning I'm reading about bodies being booby trapped of those killed.
Yeah, I saw that.
And oh my God, in Israel, and it's horrifying. And they released 2 hostages, but there are many more. And the serious nature of that, and the fact, will they suck in other actors? Will this be a worldwide conflict? Then you think about the economy. I know the Fed this week, we're supposed to hear more. Last week, we're hearing about interest rates. Will they? So these are such serious times for all of us. And then the media narrative is, well, look at those Republicans. You got the clowns in the House, and they can't get it together and can't agree on anything. And they're basically doing what Greg Stocker always says. Well, for them, they need Greg Stocker to say, don't put out your business in the House on Twitter, which is what they're doing.
Yep.
And then you have Donald Trump in the news with all of this mishigas. And so it looks messy to I think the average person just trying to keep their head above water, trying to recover post-pandemic, trying to deal with their kids, getting them to school after pandemic, learning loss and all the depression, the kid, you know what I mean? There's so much going on right now.
Yep.
And I think for the average person, they're like, you know what? Not for nothing, but I've had enough of all this drama with these Republicans. They got to get it together.
Yep.
So I think, and you said last week, you said you had that great line where you said with Biden, he seemed more passionate and angry about Trump and Republicans when he was here in Philadelphia than he really was about, my God, the travesty in the Middle East or our economy, open borders. And so this should be a no-brainer for Republicans, and yet somehow, because of all of these reasons, they just look like a hot mess.
They do. 855-839-1210 to jump in. And then on the censorship front, I actually got to give Facebook and Meta a little bit of credit here. Meta is going to limit some Facebook comments on Israeli-Palestinian posts. So Facebook owner at Meta Platforms on Thursday introduced temporary measures to limit, quote, potentially unwelcome or unwanted comments. Now, on the surface, that sounds like free speech violations, censorship, and silencing. But when you read further about this, it's not, at least in my opinion, and I'm okay with this. When it comes to posts about the conflict between Israel and Hamas, Meta said it will change the default setting for people who can comment on new and public Facebook posts that are created by users, quote, in the region to only their friends and followers, Meta said in an updated blog post. A Meta spokesperson declined to specify how the company defined the region, but users can opt out and change the setting at any time. The social media company added it will disable the ability to see the first one or two comments on posts while scrolling the Facebook feed. Earlier this week, or last week I should say at this point now, some users who posted in support for Palestine or Gaza and their citizens accused Meta of suppressing their content. Meta designates Hamas, quote, as a dangerous organization and bans content praising the group. Geez, you think? I mean, if you're going to sit here and try to praise Hamas on Facebook, and Facebook has deemed, much like most of us with a functional brain, has deemed Hamas to be a dangerous organization, I mean, they are essentially terrorists. You're not going to be able to be on that site and promoting and applauding what terrorists do. So I would say thank you, Meta. And for any of these Harvard students or college kids, 18 to 24, that are very sympathetic to the pro-Palestinian Hamas cause, I love seeing all these people triggered that they feel like they're being silenced or suppressed. Now ask how a Republican felt during a pandemic when they couldn't talk about COVID.
I got to ask you, though, the first 30 minutes of the show has been about free speech.
That's correct.
So how is this any different? As deplorable, as comments like that are.
Yes.
Why? I mean,
because my consistent rule with free speech is I'm pretty much a free speech absolutist up until the point where it includes dangerous, hateful.
But what is hateful?
I don't know, praising the beheading of Jewish people. I mean, booby-trapped dead bodies.
Agreed. It's all horrendous stuff. Right. But it's a slippery slope that you go down with. This is hateful and that's hateful.
Is it really?
It is. Yes, it is.
I don't know that it is, though.
I'm just saying, if there's here's what I would say: use the Tony Bruno rule.
Okay.
We still don't know what the heck Tony ever said that he was banned. And
I've worked with him for 20 years. I still don't know what he says.
Right. So he was banned for how long? And Susie Cool, too. Like a mom and grandmom in Florida and Cleveland, Ohio, who is a Gold Star family, right? So use those as your guide.
Okay.
If somebody makes a terrorist statement, anti-Semitic and threatening statement, I would say at the very least, give them the treatment that you gave Tony and Susie.
Yeah. I mean, at minimum, a flagging and a temporary ban at minimum.
Look, I'm not one who, both Meta, Twitter, X, whatever the hell you want to call it, they're private companies. They can do whatever they want on their platform. They literally can.
Well, that's the battle.
Elon Musk bought Twitter. He can do, people can bitch and complain about what he does, but he can do whatever he wants to. He owns the platform. You don't have a right to be on Twitter. You don't have a right to be on Facebook.
That's fair. This is different from what the government does.
So yes, for that, they can do whatever they want. I'm just saying that if you're making the argument about quote-unquote hate speech can be defined in many different ways.
True.
And what you and I deem hate speech, other people may not. And what other people deem hate speech, we may not. So it's you just have to be careful when you say, well, that I agree with because that's a terroristic threat.
So we do have to separate big difference with freedom of speech and free speech in the First Amendment. What the government can censor, which should be really nothing, versus private companies like Facebook.
A lot of people look at what people said on January 6th, as terroristic threats. Yeah. So all I'm saying is be very careful these roads you go down where you say, well, that's a terroristic threat and that should be eliminated. That shouldn't be able to be said or written somewhere because people could say the same thing about you, Nick Kayal, or you, John Stenzel.
No.
That's all I'm saying.
Totally valid. I just, when I look at specific things like this isolated story with Hamas, I mean, I sit here and I see terrorist organization, beheading babies, slaughtering dogs, booby-trapping dead bodies. I don't think there's much room for interpretation as to what they are and what they stand for. So that to me is the difference of, looking at something from, January 6th or looking at something from last week when you had the occupation, the occupying of the Capitol office building by the Hamas supporters and things like that. I mean, if you want to navigate the choppy waters of Hamas and try to argue that there's something less, I mean, to me, Hamas is really no different than Al-Qaeda, than ISIS. I mean, it's death to the Jews, it's death to the West, it's death to America, it's death to Christians. I don't view that as protectable, but then again, I don't own Facebook and Meta, so I think it's an interesting conversation.
The only thing I would say to all of this is that we now know at the local level, Philadelphia police, law enforcement, at the local, regional, national, and international level, monitor the accounts of these people. Mm-hmm. And so there's a piece of this that they're going to find something, whatever the Hunter Biden Snapchat, whatever, that we had some of the terrorists on there. Yeah. So part of this is it does give those individuals in law enforcement an ability to track these people. Mm-hmm. But I'm just saying make it fair, make it equal. To Greg's point, they're all private companies.
Right.
So it's just like in my house, I say you do not have freedom of speech. If especially with all the teenagers in my house, I tell them you do not have freedom of speech inside my house. So some of the music and some of the stuff you want to say, you're not saying that. But I'm really consistent with it.
Right.
That's all I ask of these social media companies. Mm-hmm. So don't go and ban constantly. It feels like the algorithms just target conservatives even still. And yet you had the supreme leader saying crazy stuff last week, and there were others that we quoted who were on social media sites. Yep. And it's like, really?
Mm-hmm. That's what I look for. I look for consistency more than anything else, because that's what I try to give you in my opinion. Like I don't try to bend the rules just because some story happens to pop up that makes my side of the political spectrum look bad, and then I try to justify it. To me, if you're law and order, you're law and order.
William writes on YouTube, the YouTube chat, you're either for free speech or you're not. There's no halfway. I agree with that.
Okay.
But that's a silly thing to say, William. You come in my house and you start saying certain words, you do not have free speech in my house. If I have a company and you come into my business, into my house or my place of business, no, if it's a private space, I'm allowed to say there are certain things that you want to be anti-Semitic and say nasty stuff or certain curse words. No, go outside. Yeah, you can have free speech.
You will not cuss in the kitchen.
That's right. No cussing in the kitchen, William.
Exactly.
You can stand right outside my house.
Sam writes, get a grip, Greg. Hate is hate. Okay, well then a lot of people look at what the people did and who support January 6th is hate. So just know that this is a very slippery slope you guys are going down.
I think it's a great conversation. It's a great debate because it's going to go to the smartest people in the land when it comes to Biden v. Missouri with the Supreme Court. All right, 855-839-1210. If you want to jump in, Jim Jordan out. The 9 candidates led by my original number 2, Byron Donalds of Florida. We'll wrap up hour number 1 next on Kayal and Company.
Jump into the NBA action with FanDuel in partnership with Valley Forge Casino. It's America's #1 sports book. I love the FanDuel app. Right now, new customers can bet $5 and get $200 in bonus bets guaranteed. Plus, all customers can get 3 months of NBA League Pass courtesy of FanDuel when they place a $5 bet on the NBA. 3 months of NBA League Pass courtesy of FanDuel. All you have to do is place a $5 bet on the NBA. Go to FanDuel.com/Greg. FanDuel.com/Greg right now to sign up. You can watch all the action as you bet on everything from point spreads to player props, and you get paid instantly when you win. FanDuel.com/Greg. and tip off the NBA season right now. FanDuel Sportsbook is the official partner of 1210 WPHT and is the official partner of the NBA. 21 and over, President PA. New customer offer, first online real money wager only. Refund issued as a non-withdrawable bonus bet. Set expire in 7 days. All customer offer, $5 NBA wager required. Limit one pass per customer across both offers. Restrictions apply. Void where prohibited. See full terms for both offers at FanDuel.com/sportsbook. Gambling problem, call 1-800-GAMBLER. NBA League Pass, local blackout restrictions apply.
Exergen thermometers are proven to be more accurate than non-contact thermometers. With children back at school, keeping them healthy is important. Clinical studies have proven that non-contact thermometers are inaccurate and can miss fevers. Accuracy matters. That's why the Exergen thermometer is trusted and used by medical professionals. Exergen thermometers are available at Walmart and other participating retailers. Choose a trusted and accurate thermometer for personal use. Learn more about why accuracy matters at Exergen.com.
Finding great candidates to hire can be like, well, trying to find a needle in a haystack, but not with ZipRecruiter. Its powerful technology actively finds and invites qualified candidates to apply to your job. So while other companies might deliver a lot of hay, ZipRecruiter finds you the needle in the haystack.
See why 4 out of 5 employers who post a job on ZipRecruiter get a quality candidate within the first day. Try ZipRecruiter for free at ZipRecruiter.com/free. That's ZipRecruiter.com/free.
Is the IRS after you? Do you owe them so much money you will never be able to pay them? Are they levying your bank accounts, garnishing your paycheck? Are you making monthly payments you cannot afford? If so, you need to call the Tax Problem Solver at 609-970-4634. I'm Charles Montesino, and I solve IRS problems. Do you have unpaid income or payroll taxes? Do you have unfiled returns? The IRS is starting to audit the employee retention credits. It doesn't matter. I can help. All I do is help people with IRS problems. I'm a certified public accountant and certified tax resolution specialist. That makes me one of the few people in the entire country that can help you. Again, my name is Charles Montesino, and I solve IRS problems. Call me at 609-970-4634 or go to taxproblemsolve.com. That's 609-970-4634. Call now and get started on the road to relief. Again, the number is 609-970-4634.
Be sure to follow Talk Radio 1210 WPHT on the free Odyssey app. Download it now.
It is Kayal and Company, 650, live here on a Monday morning. Talk Radio 1210, WPHT. As we head till 10 o'clock this morning, 855-839-1210. The phone number, what's on the cut sheet just about an hour from now. Dawn will have some news to kick off hour number 2 in just a few minutes. But also on Friday, we had some news coming down that it looks like it is over for Jim Jordan. And if you were paying attention last week, it just kept getting worse for Jim. He started out with 20 Republicans that were not going to vote for him and support him to become new Speaker of the House. And then on vote number 2, that number went from 20 to 22. And then it went from 22 to 25, 3 strikes, and you're out. And Jim Jordan removed as Speaker nominee by a closed-door GOP vote, which I'm not sure how I feel about that. I saw Nancy Mace tweeting out on Friday saying that basically, and I'm summarizing, that she says it's cowardice to do this behind closed doors and not put your face and name to the vote on Friday. But it is over for Jim Jordan, and now there are 9 different, so to speak, contenders or candidates. I think it's a lot like the presidential nominee on the Republican side. Yeah, you might have 9, 10, 12, 13 different individuals, but it's really about 1 or 2 individuals. And for me, it's now about Byron Donalds from Florida, who has come out and said that he is throwing his name into the ring, so to speak. And, you know, when we saw this stuff play out a few weeks ago with Kevin McCarthy, everybody kind of had their short list. And my top 2, in specific order, was Jim Jordan 1 and Byron Donalds 2. So I did not get what I wanted with Jim Jordan. Who knows if I'll get what I want with Byron Donalds. But Byron Donalds did say this. He says, the bottom line is that the Democrats spied on the American people, locked our kids out of school during the pandemic, refused to secure the border, and led us to a point where our adversaries no longer fear or respect us. Strong GOP leadership will guide us back to a point where we can be respected again. And then Byron Donalds officially announcing his intent on Friday night, saying, tonight I am announcing my candidacy for Speaker of the U.S. House of Representatives. My sole focus will be securing the border, funding our government responsibly, advancing a conservative vision for the House of Representatives and the American people, and expanding our Republican majority. He goes on to talk about other levels of leadership and other goals. A lot of the typical talking points that you get that I'm on board with: crime, the border, the economy, going after Biden, so forth and so on. So we'll see how that plays out. I have a feeling that it will not be Byron Donalds. I think there's too much, and I think there's a lot of things maybe working against him. He is certainly a supporter of Donald Trump. Mm-hmm. He's a lot like Jim Jordan in that camp, so to speak, which is not a bad thing, but clearly, the moderate rhinos of the Republican Party have kind of, drawn a line in the sand, much like conservatives have, and that's why we have this, standoff that is going on and on and on. But I really do like Byron Donalds. I think he's got a lot of charisma. He sounds like a winner. I like the way he delivers. He's certainly getting his name out there. He's done a lot of media, a lot of interviews. Not to the level of Vivek Ramaswamy, but Byron doesn't shy away from the cameras. But I also think this is a little tidbit to the piece to the puzzle. I think it would really, really trigger the left if Byron Donalds became the Speaker of the House. Because as you know, the left does not like when an African-American man is a free thinker. And you know what?
And a Trump supporter.
And a Trump supporter to boot. So that drives like my ex-mother-in-law and people like that. How could this guy possibly think that way? Dawn, this would be a great triggering of the left, although I don't think he's a lock by any stretch to get this.
Well, he's, out of everybody, and I know there's one Pennsylvania Republican out of the 9, too, that I had met, Dan Muser of Pennsylvania. But do people, out of all of these individuals, Byron Donalds is the only one that I think people really know who he is? Does that help him? Does that hurt him? If somebody doesn't, if somebody comes from obscurity, does that help in this? But I do think that you're right. I think that the fact that he's an African-American gentleman and but we've talked about this, his personality. I think the personality really matters, and you have to have that correct balance of somebody who's a strong alpha person, but as well, you're a good listener.
Is he too young? Is he a little too green for you, so to speak? As in, doesn't have the chops and the experience? Is this too big of a platform for him at this point in his political career?
No, I don't think so.
I don't either. I'm just wondering out loud.
Because I think the truth is, here's what I thought of, and I dreamt about this. All of them on a bus with Nick Kayal's bus driver. And so you're not getting off the bus. There are no camera. Your phones.
Do you hear me?
Yeah, get her driving a bus. And not like heated or air conditioned. No food. You can't go to the bathroom.
Windows are up.
Windows are up. You're driving around D.C., around and around and around this bus.
Yep.
And then you have to all come to and put your phones out in a bag outside the bus.
Yep.
Get it together.
You're not getting off the bus until
not
the
getting
vote
off
is
the
done.
bus. Bus driver is like talking you down.
Yeah.
And just get it done.
Well, because Republicans are saying this right now.
Damn it! How much more do you expect me to take?
How much more of this can we take? I mean, you think Kevin McCarthy has it bad. How about us?
They start to look really small, and I just felt like, I just wonder, reportedly, even Matt Gaetz, reportedly the original 8 are like, oh, God, what have we done?
Right.
Like, I think that they just really love Jim Jordan. They thought they would get their guy in, and now this whole thing, have they weakened Jim Jordan?
Yeah.
And you got to remember, a lot of these people are up for re-election and whatnot. All this stuff is going to be used in ads against them.
That's correct.
Jeez.
855-839-1210. Dawn will have some news to kick off hour number 2. And also, we have a new poll that shows there is an overwhelming level of support for Israel when it comes to the conflict in the Middle East and how Americans feel. We will get to that. And the latest sign of desperation for a once proud beer company. It's basically beer bribery at this point. We will get to that story as we continue this morning. Kayal and Company, Hour 2 on the way on Talk Radio 1210 WPHT.
In business, everything your employees do impacts your brand, including what they wear. Cintas has high-performance workplace apparel for almost every job imaginable. From work shirts and pants, to polos and khakis, to Oxfords or t-shirts, these clothes move, breathe, and look great. Your team gets the styles they like, you convey the image you want. And Cintas service includes weekly laundry and delivery. To learn more, visit Cintas.com.
Oh, I'm ready!
And get ready for the workday.
Heart failure, carpal tunnel syndrome, shortness of breath, stomach issues, lower back pain. How does it all add up? If you have heart failure and any of those seemingly unrelated symptoms sound familiar, it's time to talk with your cardiologist and get the full picture. They may add up to transthyretin amyloid cardiomyopathy. ATTR-CM is a rare and underdiagnosed disease. Recognize the signs and discuss them with your doctor soon. Learn more at connectwithyourheart.com. That's connectwithyourheart.com. Sponsored by Pfizer.
With food prices going up, it's hard to decide on what to buy and where to buy. If you're looking for a way to stretch your food dollars, look no further than your neighborhood grocery outlet. We have the name brands you love for 40 to 70% less than regular grocery stores. Our stores are locally owned and operated by people in your community, so we understand the challenges you are facing. Stop by your local grocery outlet today for deals you won't believe.
Grocery Outlet Bargain Market.
WPHT, WPHT-HD, WOGL HD3 Philadelphia. From the Cherry Hill Volvo Studios, where relationships matter. Always live on the free Odyssey app.
There are so many discounts and offers at Cherry Hill Volvo. This 30-second spot is not enough time to share all the benefits of purchasing or leasing a new Volvo from Cherry Hill Volvo. Discounts and incentives for this month start at $5,000 and can be as high as $11,000. Purchase or lease a new Volvo from Cherry Hill Volvo now and take advantage of these fabulous discounts and offers. Visit us soon for the best selection of Volvos. The entire Cherry Hill Volvo team is waiting to partner with you.
There's nothing like football season. And this year, fans in Philly can listen to Penn State football free. Catch every Nittany Lions game live with Talk Radio 1210 WPHT. Free on the Odyssey app. Every touchdown, every tackle, every win. All right here. To get started, download the Odyssey app today. That's AUDACY. And search for WPHT. Available for Philadelphia listeners only. Drive in with Kayal and Company mornings 6 till 10. Drive home with Rich Zioli afternoons 3 till 7. Live and local on Talk Radio 1210, WPHT, and the free Odyssey app.
Kayal and Company, 7 o'clock, hour number 2, off and running here on this Monday morning. Nick, Dawn, and Greg, Talk Radio 1210 WPHT. Get us on the free Odyssey app. Watch us live on YouTube. A lot of good stuff coming up this hour, including the latest support for Israel. A Bud Light update, major sign of desperation. And a couple of other things with Israel and Hamas. And this story that we'll obviously are going to keep tracking as the days and weeks go by. Just an awful story in Detroit. And then speaking of the state of Michigan, I'm not sure how Michigan State actually tried to pull off what they did or how it could be an accident when it comes to one awful human being from, 75, 80 years ago. But we'll get to that story as we continue making our way towards what's on the cut sheet. But before all of that, let's get to the news. Round number 2, 7:02 here on a Monday morning. The great Dawn Stensland.
And good morning. We are sponsored this morning by Wawa. And since you had mentioned it, yes, the Israel-Hamas war rages as the death toll does mount. So we had a lot of action over the weekend that I know we'll talk about. But the IDF, the Israeli Defense Force, saying that it launched raids along the contact line with Gaza. And so that they carried out raids, the IDF did, along that contact line with Gaza overnight to, quote, kill those terrorist squads. And that this is my sourcing, the IDF, this is from Israeli officials, as they ramp up bombardment on the Palestinian enclave ahead of this anticipated ground assault, which we've been talking about for many days. And that has seemingly been stalled with the ground assault. But this is a very delicate situation that we're entering into. Armored and infantry raids conducted during the night. These raids to kill terrorist squads. That's the word from the IDF. And the deep raids were also to locate and search for people taken hostage during Hamas's large-scale attack on Israel, of course, October 7th. And so that is in the coming stages of the war, that quote. But we're looking at, counting, it looks like now up to 5,000 people killed in total. These death tolls every day, it just adds up.
Yeah, it appears, too, that they have 222 hostages is the latest number.
Yeah, and we saw the two that were, the two that were released, and then President Joe Biden speaking with them over the phone. So there were two released. Will they release more? And so this is a very delicate negotiation that we're seeing, and a situation when we hear all the news. Locally, I know on the main line there were some pro-Israel. We're seeing more pro-Israel rallies across our region, the East Coast, the country. So that is going on. In Philadelphia, other news of the day, of course, we had started out this morning by paying tribute to, and of course, the formal remembrances for murdered Philadelphia police officer Richard Mendes. So that begins today. He, of course, was shot and killed in the line of duty along with his partner, trying to stop that break-in at Philadelphia International Airport parking garage. We've talked about that a lot, especially since those cameras were still not functional. That's what we've been told. A lot of questions and outrage from the community. We haven't heard much about it. But these two events starting today honor the 22-year veteran of the Philadelphia Police Department, his wife, his widow, his family. So that public viewing this evening, 5:30 to 8:30 on Academy Road there in Philadelphia. And then tomorrow morning, 8 a.m. to 11 a.m., Cathedral Basilica of Saints Peter and Paul. That will bring in law enforcement from not just across the city, but across, as you know, the region and the nation. Because when you back the blue, when you think about that brotherhood, sisterhood that represents the law enforcement greater community, we will see a huge showing in this situation. So this is to honor Officer Richard Mendes. His partner, thank God, survived, Raul Ortiz, and we've talked a lot about him. Long road to recovery with his shooting injuries, but he's recovering at home, thank God. So we're looking at that. Also, U.S. Senator Bob Menendez returns to court, expected to enter that guilty plea to that conspiracy charge. This is a very serious federal charge that he allegedly acted as an agent of the Egyptian government as he chaired the powerful Senate Foreign Relations Committee. A lot of questions, especially when you think of leaks, intelligent leaks, and now what's going on in Israel. And so very serious charges facing Menendez as well as his wife. He's in court today. So we've talked a lot about the GOP, and then there were 9. So we're expecting that they have a conference today and that there could be a speaker vote tomorrow, 9 a.m. That's what we're hearing. That'll be Tuesday. And so we're talking about that a lot this morning, but it will certainly dominate the news today and into tomorrow morning. Musicians of the Philadelphia Orchestra, don't know if you heard, they've ratified a collective bargaining agreement calling for minimum salaries to increase by 15.8% over 3 years.
Oh, good for them.
Yes.
New CBA. I like that.
Yeah. So they're happy with it. The deal was announced late, over the weekend, Local 77 with the American Federation of Musicians. And then, it seems like everybody's happy. It seems like it'll be fully ratified, and so this is a good thing.
16% raise.
Yeah, 16%.
I don't know, Dawn. What do you think? We get together, you and I, and we collaborate a little bit, and we present Stalker with some new options.
I think part of their argument was they were pretty much shut down, so they haven't.
Oh, okay.
I don't know that they've been paid.
Oh,
as much, during the pandemic. Because I think they were shut down a lot. So
Okay.
I think there was a lot of loss.
Yeah.
So they're trying to rebuild ultimately. So we've got that going on. Let's talk about the NBC 10 First Alert forecast today, because today, tomorrow into Wednesday, really a lovely week ahead as far as weather-wise. Bright sunny skies. But I will say for anybody who was in Arizona, it was quite hot over the weekend. So for our Phils, if you're coming back from Arizona, maybe had a little trip to the Grand Canyon.
It was over
nice
100
and
degrees
hot.
again, wasn't it?
Woo!
They've had over 100 days this year where it's been over 103 degrees.
I mean, it's that dry heat.
Yeah,
They always
it's
say.
a dry heat, yeah.
Oh, it's a dry heat.
Yeah.
It doesn't feel as.
Yeah, when you're having a heat stroke and it's 104, does it matter if it's a dry heat or more of a humid heat? I personally would prefer the dry heat, but
Yeah.
I'd take a Florida heat too.
So 47 degrees right now, but we are up to 63 degrees. Bright sunny skies today, tomorrow, mostly sunny for your Wednesday. So 63 today, 67 for your tomorrow, and then 72 for your Wednesday. So by 5:07 with our fills, it'll be nice but chilly, because once that sun sets, it's the breeze. There's a tiny breeze. The breeze should die down, but seriously, it's going to be brisk.
Mm-hmm.
So World Series, we are one win. I don't even want to jinx it.
Did you see Castellanos get the reaction he got last night at the link?
Yes.
From the Eagles fans?
It's like, how cool is that?
So awesome. I love when there's like the overlap between the two teams.
And didn't you love how people showed up for last night's Eagles win against the Dolphins 31-17, but because they were wearing the throwback Kelly Green, and then you saw Phil's fans doing the same.
Let me ask you this, and maybe we could put this up. I don't know, and Daniel's out today, but maybe the YouTube poll chat. You only get one throwback. You can either have the Eagles Kelly Green or the Phillies Powder Blues. You only get one. Which one would you take?
Phillies Powder Blues.
Really?
I love the Phillies Powder Blues, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. I think more people are going to go Kelly Green.
It's like Sophie's choice. That's too hard of a choice.
I know. That's why I get paid the big bucks, Don.
This is an Eagles town, so you have to.
Yeah, it's true. Maybe we could throw that up in the poll question.
I can't. I don't know if I could. Both of those are awesome.
I know. I love those Powder Blues, though. God, they're good looking. Anyway.
I love the green.
You do.
I do.
All right.
I love the Kelly Green.
I like them both.
I don't know. I can't choose.
All right.
All right, so let's talk about Wawa, shall we? Because I love Wawa. Wawa has pizza, freshly made, tastes great, and you can get it late. Right now, there is a $0 delivery fee when you order Wawa pizza, Wawa.com, or on the Wawa app. Make sure you have your rewards card linked up when because they give you tons of free stuff. I don't know if you guys have that. You got to have your rewards card linked up to your Wawa app, the whole shebang, because you got to have a Wawa. Thank you, Wawa, for sponsoring Kayal and Company News Live.
The poll question is officially up on the YouTube chat. YouTube.com/@1210 WPHT. Excuse me. If you want to go over there, better jerseys, Kelly Green or powder blue.
Okay.
I'm gonna vote. Yeah.
I'm
going to vote for powder blue.
You're going powder blue.
You're both going powder blue.
No, I'm going to go Kelly Green.
Okay.
I'll be prisoner of the moment.
To me, I'm saying Sophie's choice. I can't choose.
All right, so Dawn's
even though Sophie chose.
Dawn's on the fence here.
I love them both. I can't choose.
All right, 855-839-1210. Let me grab a call here before we get to this Anheuser-Busch update. We've got our buddy Ed in Delran. He's got some thoughts on Jim Jordan and Byron Donalds. Ed, you're on Talk Radio 1210. Good morning, Ed.
Good morning to you guys. I hope you're having a great day today.
Yes.
Now, I'm going to tell you, I am a big Byron Donalds fan because, just like you said earlier, I want to drive the left in this country absolutely bonkers and crazy that an African-American man can be an independent thinker and not follow the norm of what they want. It's just beautiful, in my opinion. I wanted him from the get-go. I was a big Jim Jordan fan as well, and I was hoping he would have made it, but I had my doubts.
Yeah, and as much as I like Donalds, I do get the feeling that he might run into the same roadblocks, so to speak, that Jim Jordan has ran into, Ed. So I'm not sure we're going to get what we want. I got a feeling.
Think so.
You don't think so?
I don't.
Wow.
No,
I think you're right.
I don't think that he's going to have the same. I don't think he's going to have the same roadblocks that Jim Jordan does.
I just feel like when you think about all the different topics and talking points, his viewpoints and his beliefs align very close to what Jim Jordan is, and I feel like if the so to speak rhinos of the party have it their way, they're going to say, "Yeah, this is just a younger, different version."
Well, let me ask
Jim
you
Jordan.
this: was it really about that, or was it about Jim Jordan himself? I think a lot of it had to do with Jim Jordan himself. I think he's
it's fair.
I think to a lot of people he's very unlikable in his own party.
Even though
I could see that.
I don't know. I mean, I think if he's a guy. Because I love him. Like, if you love him, you love him.
Mm-hmm.
But I think there are some in there who, who just see him as a connection to January 6th. You were bringing up January 6th.
And Donald Trump, too, by the way. And Donald Trump.
Even though
Don't forget that.
Byron Donalds
it's not the
has
same.
endorsed Trump, but to your point, it's not the same because of the whole January 6th thing. Here's what he said when he announced it Friday night. And he's Naples,
Yeah.
He wrote, he hopes to become the first African-American speaker, the first speaker from the great state of Florida, and the next speaker of the 118th Congress, focusing on securing our border, funding our government responsibly, advancing a conservative vision for the House of Representatives and the American people, expanding our Republican majority. That was his statement.
And he's got a finance backing background, as you know. If you remember when we were playing him doing the investigation into a couple of the key witnesses and experts about the Biden family corruption and all the finances and the flow chart with all the shell companies and the banks. So I think if there's one specific area where he will be incredibly good, I think he's going to be great when it comes to the budget, when it comes to being fiscally more responsible. He's got a money and a monetary and a numbers background, which I always like.
And to your point, and to Ed's point, he is, they write about him, the self-described Trump-supporting, liberty-loving, pro-life, pro-Second Amendment black man.
Mm-hmm.
That's how everybody describes him, so that does make the left crazy.
Oh, he makes Joy Reid want to lose her mind. She can't process it. She'll never be able to figure it out, which I love. 855-839-1210, the number. All right, we'll come back. Anheuser-Busch has basically gotten to the point where they need to bribe people to take their beer. But just how much is the bribe? Even the Biden family thinks this is an excessive bribe. We'll get to that story when we continue. It's Kayal and Company, Monday morning on Talk Radio 1210 WPHT.
Hi, this is Dr. Brad Schaefer. As a podiatrist, I can tell you no two people's feet are alike, which is why I recommend Dr. Scholl's custom fit orthotic inserts. They're customized for your feet, so you get a unique solution your feet really need, not just a one-size-fits-all insole. They're clinically proven to provide pain relief for achy feet, knees, lower back, plantar fasciitis, and heels. Take the Dr. Scholl's Custom Fit Orthotics Assessment in Walmart today. Now in the foot care aisle.
40 days to lose 20 to 40 plus pounds. Just say it with me. 40 days to lose 20 to 40 plus pounds. You will lose a contractually guaranteed 20 to 40 plus pounds in only 40 days with NJ Diet. They use your hair, saliva, and blood work along with scans to personalize natural solutions and supplements that get you and your body into the fat burning zone so you can finally lose that weight. Then NJ Diet uses DNA info to help you keep it off. Best of all, it's contractually guaranteed. You are fully supervised the entire time to make sure you are burning fat and not just losing water, and you even get the doctor's personal email and phone number. They're with you every step of the way. Absolutely no shots, no hormones, no surgery. Locations close by in King of Prussia, Newark, Delaware, and Cherry Hill. 855-5NJ-DIET. Or from home with live online video consultations. NJDiet.com. 40 days to lose 20 to 40 plus pounds guaranteed. NJDiet.com.
This is an important notice to consumers facing $10,000 or more in credit card debt, medical bills, or other unsecured debt. You may not be required to pay it all back because there are special programs now in effect that will significantly reduce the amount you will owe if you qualify. This is not bankruptcy or a debt consolidation loan. These programs, which the credit card companies like to keep secret, exist to aid American consumers struggling with overwhelming credit card debt by offering tremendous savings and real debt relief. Accredited Debt Relief has established a special hotline for you to call and learn what savings you qualify for. They've helped qualify consumers with over $1 billion in debt and are A+ rated with the Better Business Bureau. So don't wait. Get the relief you need during these hard economic times. For this free information, call the Accredited Debt Relief Hotline now. Call 800-873-7171. 800-873-7171. 800-873-7171.
Hi, Philly. It's Emmett Smith again. If there's one thing I know about you folks, you're fierce competitors, tough as nails, even when it comes to pushing through aches and joint pain. But you don't have to waste that Philly grit dealing with pain anymore, thanks to QC Kinetics.
Like Emmett said, hand over the pain once and for all to QC Kinetics to get relief in your knees, hips, shoulders, and back without surgery or harmful medications. They use your body's own healing properties right at the source of the nonstop pain, making you feel like yourself again.
Come on now. You don't want a Dallas fella whipping up on you just because of that joint pain holding you back. Nah, this is a personal challenge for me, Emmett Smith. Take care of your business. Get relief from that pain once and for all.
Challenge accepted. Go ahead, call QC Kinetics today.
Call QC Kinetics, 215-999-3000. That's 215-999-3000. 215-999-3000.
Hey, it's Rich Zioli. When you're involved in an accident, you need a lawyer to help you maximize your recovery and get the fair value of your case. You need the law offices of Thomas G. Skopanich. My buddy Tom has been serving the greater Delaware Valley for over 25 years, and he's helped many clients. With offices located in Lansdale, Montgomery County, let Tom help you maximize your recovery and get the fair value for your case. Contact Tom at scopelawyer.com or 215-624-2211.
Right now, in the fall, this is the best time to find yourself that new or certified luxury vehicle you've been wanting. You've earned it. Now go get it with a little help from my friends from the Piazza Premium Automobiles. They're always here for you in your unique vehicle search, and it really is a unique search, isn't it? So here's the deal. The Piazza Premium family featuring dealerships across the entire region. That's right, the tri-state area. Pennsylvania, Delaware, New Jersey, with their newest location in Pennsylvania, Jaguar Land Rover Harrisburg. So find your Alfa Romeo, your Maserati, your Mercedes-Benz, your Porsche, Jaguar, or Land Rover. These are some of the most beautiful, sleek, powerful vehicles on the road. So start your unique search with PiazzaPremiumAutos.com, Piazza, PiazzaPremiumAutos.com. Tell them Dawn sent you.
Hey, West Berlin, we know your favorite station is Talk Radio 1210 WPHT.
$7:20, Kayal and Company, rolling on live Monday morning. Nick, Dawn, and Greg here on Talk Radio 1210 WPHT. Get us on the free Odyssey app. Watch us live on YouTube. What's on the cut sheet? Weekend Monday edition, 7:45. We're just about 25 minutes out from that. Somebody should be dealt with accordingly in East Lansing, Michigan, when it comes to Michigan State. Putting up an image that I don't think is a good idea any time of the year, but most certainly not with what's going on with the conflict in the Middle East. We'll get to that story as well as the overwhelming support for Israel coming up here in just a couple of minutes. But it's pretty clear that Anheuser-Busch is lacking in support, and I have said for 2 or 3 months now, and we've been talking about this story since March or April, with Dylan Mulvaney and Bud Light, that this will go down and has been the single worst marketing decision in the history of corporate America. And I feel strongly about that every time I see these stories. And the latest is that Anheuser-Busch is basically offering a beer bribe at this point, as Bud Light now is dangling, and Anheuser-Busch, the company, specifically $150 million in incentives to distributors to keep the beer on the shelves and in stock. And we're not talking about keeping it in stock because it's flying off the shelves as if people can't get enough of it. But it's to the point now where they can't sell it. They want to take it off of the shelves. And Anheuser-Busch is like, look, all right, Bill's beer distributor in Bluebell here. Here's a nice incentive to keep it out there on display, and maybe just one day people will come back. So this story from the New York Post, Anheuser-Busch is dangling big incentives to distributors to keep its beer on store shelves following Bud Light's disastrous tie-up with Dylan Mulvaney, even as retailers begin reassigning the space they allocate to popular beers, according to reports. The embattled brewer, whose Bud Light brand has been slammed by boycotts over an April 1st marketing tie-up with the transgender influencer, is offering as much as $150 million in relief this year alone. That, according to Beer Marketers Insights. That includes reimbursements to distributors for certain freight and fuel surcharges and giving them an extra 5 days to pay their bills to the brewery, according to the trade publication. Quote, I imagine for those that are having some cash flow concerns, this would help somewhat, one distributor told the Post. So I think the way some of these like smaller beer distributors work is, I think the profit margin is about 20%. And when they purchase, you obviously get a bigger discount the more pallets of the beer that you buy from a distributor. And you have a certain amount of days before you get invoiced and then have to pay off the distributorship that dropped off the cases on the pallets in the truck that you put into your. So now they're giving them like basically another 5-day grace period to pay up their balance because whatever beer that they're bringing in from Anheuser-Busch, and I'm assuming it's specifically Bud Light, but maybe it's trickled down to Budweiser and some of the other brands, they can't move it fast enough, which means some of these distributors working on a small profit margin to begin with can't pay up. So Anheuser-Busch has basically have to given these companies and these distributors, and I would imagine it's probably the small guy that gets hurt the most. If you go to your Giant or your grocery store that sells beer, odds are they buy it in bigger bulk, so they get a better rate. But, your local beer distributorship that looks like they're selling beer out of a garage, it's the way we used to buy it back in the day, that's the guy that's getting crushed by this the most. So kind of an interesting story because now we're well into the fall and we're well into beer drinking football season. So all of these companies are looking at what inventory is moving and what is sitting there and collecting dust. And we told you, like, once you get out of Labor Day, those first 6 weeks of the fall, they look to see, okay, we need to reposition and, product placement. We put the stuff up front that moves.
Did you ever think 6 months later we'd be here?
No.
I mean, the bloodletting just doesn't stop.
It doesn't. The only thing that, and I try to be fair about it, is, yes, they've gotten crushed for Bud Light, and rightfully so, but Modelo has moved up the board.
Yeah.
And that's an Anheuser-Busch product as well. So it's like, okay, you're taking a lot of money out of my left pocket, but you're still sticking it back in my right pocket, so to speak.
Yeah.
So in a weird way, I think it's still probably a win, if not a push, for Anheuser-Busch.
Well, apparently last night at the Eagles game, they were giving away, I guess they were, I don't know if they were coasters or koozies or something with Philadelphia Eagles and Bud Light.
The Kelly koozies.
The Kelly koozies. I don't know if we had Wendy set them in. She was at the game last night. I don't know if we have them. We can put them up on the YouTube screen.
Okay.
YouTube.com/@1210WPHT. But yeah, there they are.
Yeah, they are.
The Kelly green koozies. I mean, they're nice. I like the Kelly green koozie, but
it was a smart idea.
Yeah. It's still not. I get it. Like Lincoln Financial Field, I think, is a Bud Light. Thing.
Well, the big Bud Light's the official beer of the Eagles.
Yeah.
So
it is not Miller Lite?
No,
or
it's not
Yuengling?
Miller. No. Bud Light. I think Bud Light and the NFL are kind of in bed together. I think I don't know. We should actually look this up. What the official beer of the Phillies is? That might be Miller Lite. Although I don't know.
Apparently,
Yuengling.
It's both the Bud Light is both the NFL and the MLB.
Okay.
Wow.
So Anheuser-Busch has a monopoly on it.
Even with all of that, even with all the advertising on two of the biggest sports, in the country, you can't.
Yeah, but I got to think, if you're at the Eagles game, and let's think about this. That's an 8:20 game last night.
Yeah.
Odds are you had some people in the parking lot tailgating since about 10:30 in the morning. When you've had 14 beers in you, do you even remember Dylan Mulvaney when you're in the stands and the Bud guy comes by with his little pallet?
Or whatever beer they give you. You know what I mean? It's like, we're out of this. All right, fine. Just give me whatever you have. Right?
But Yuengling is the official lager of the Philadelphia Phillies.
Okay, official lager.
The official lager.
Okay.
Yeah, because I bought Yuengling cans that had the Phillies logo on.
Yeah, they have retro.
Yep. Yeah. So
which is very cool.
No, Yuengling did a good job. They cashed in a little bit with the American thing, and they had the American flag, and they were doing some stuff that countered Bud Light in the Memorial Day through Labor Day stretch. So I would not expect the Eagles or the Phillies or anybody to end their relationship with Bud Light over Dylan Mulvaney, even though probably a good portion of their fans were against the whole marketing campaign because I don't think these teams are going to cut off their nose despite their face.
Well, hence when we saw the Kelsey brothers at the Phillies game last week, and they were both drinking Bud Lights.
Yep.
It's the it sponsors them without really sponsoring them, but you know what I mean. So
pretty much.
Their PR person was like, "Drink this."
Oh yeah.
You know what I mean? So.
Yep. 855-839-1210. Let me grab Anthony in Coatesville. He's got some thoughts on the Bud Light backlash. Anthony, you're on Talk Radio 1210.
Yeah, good morning. Hi. I was just wondering, as far as the whole why is tobacco companies treated like Republicans and the alcohol companies are treated like Democrats? I mean, they provide these incentives and nobody's talking about it. And yet, I mean, if you want to look from a health standpoint, mental health or even say automobile accidents, which is one of the top causes of death in this country, and alcohol-related accidents is definitely greatly attributing to it. Talking about the breakdown of society, all that, and keep in mind, when I have a party at my house, I have alcohol, but I haven't drank for 27 years.
Oh, okay.
And I just don't understand how all these, advertisements are allowed to be ran and every major sporting event showing everyone having fun and all these young people having a good time. And yet I think that's definitely affecting our society as a whole way more than cigarettes ever has.
Well,
I think $1 trillion deficit.
I think with drinking, with beer and alcohol, it's just about being adult and being responsible. But I'm glad you bring up the tobacco. Two things on that. One, you ever notice you never see a tobacco ad anymore in stadiums for sports? For years, like in the 80s, 90s, and maybe up until the early 2000s, whether it was like an old school baseball stadium or an NFL stadium, you'd see the Marlboro logo.
Well, I don't think you can, right, Doc?
I think that's been shut down.
Yeah, I think that the government, to your point, the government has banned TV ads, print, conventional media ads.
Yeah.
They've shifted. They can.
But they used to have the billboards in this, like the old vet. There would be like the Marlboro logo, like behind, the back of the end zone when they would convert it from a football to a baseball stadium. And I'm glad that Anthony brought up tobacco. The big story from the weekend was the FDA is now moving forward with the banning of menthol cigarettes, by the way, which is going to put a big dent into some of those tobacco companies.
God,
yeah,
we're still doing this.
That's what I saw over the weekend.
Okay,
they're moving forward with that. I don't know.
And I guess, can they advertise all the cannabis stuff?
Yeah. Most places can.
I do.
Most places can.
So that's you think about that.
Right.
How weird that is.
You can,
to your point, gambling, booze, cannabis,
Right.
CBD, all that they can advertise, but God forbid they
Right.
can't have a tobacco.
I know. It doesn't make
ad.
sense.
And then remember last week we did the story that they found that sugar, and especially that high fructose corn syrup, is as addictive as like crack cocaine. And you see all the candy ads.
That's correct.
But the government decides.
Yep, they do. All right, if you guys have thoughts, 855-839-1210 to jump in. Coming up next, the latest polling number shows that it's very, very, very much just a vocal minority when it comes to Israel and Gaza, and when we're talking about support. We'll get to that as we work our way towards the cut sheet, which is coming up at 7:45. We're back after this on Talk Radio 1210 WPHT.
You're invited to witness a groundbreaking documentary, America's Retirement Dilemma, a documentary of Wall Street's rigged system, featuring powerful exclusive interviews such as the top regulator over Wall Street, the Inspector General of the Securities and Exchange Commission, H. David Kotz, who indicates how Wall Street is rigged.
In the federal government, management is often a big challenge. Get the manager to do the right thing. It's a great concern.
The Chief Accountability Officer over the federal government, the United States Comptroller General, David Walker, further explaining the dilemma facing all Americans.
If we have another recession, the federal government doesn't have any more tools in its toolbox.
Hear these experts and more exclusive interviews with powerful industry leaders, esteemed economists, and top researchers at the Springfield Country Club, October 24th. Registration is required. 1-800-722-9728 or crashproofretirement.com.
When you need to know, depend on KYW News Radio 103.9 FM.
Aid deliveries for Palestinian civilians have reportedly reached Gaza as the war enters day 16. The total death toll is over 6,000. The Eagles improved to 6-1 after beating the Dolphins last night 31-17. And the Phillies can clinch the pennant tonight at CBP. Aaron Nola toes the rubber at 5:07.
Get the latest anytime on KYW News Radio. Now on Crystal Clear 103.9 FM.
You've never needed us more.
Virtua Health is here for you, all of you. Here for the run-of-the-mills, the out-of-the-blues. Here for everything in between. And with our Rowan University partnership, we're here, rethinking the way academic medicine feels. Welcome to a more convenient, smarter healthcare experience. And that's more good for everyone. Find a Virtua physician or location near you at virtua.org. Virtua Health, now more than ever, here for good.
Don't miss the Labor and Energy Show with J-Doc and Krause, brought to you by Advocacy United, this Saturday night at 6. Find out about the important issues that'll affect you. The Labor and Energy Show, Saturday night at 6 on Talk Radio 1210 WPHT.
In business, everything your employees do impacts your brand, including what they wear. Cintas has high-performance workplace apparel for almost every job imaginable. From work shirts and pants, to polos and khakis, to Oxfords or T-shirts, these clothes move, breathe, and look great. Your team gets the styles they like, you convey the image you want. And Cintas service includes weekly laundry and delivery. To learn more, visit Cintas.com.
Oh, I'm ready!
And get ready for the workday.
Heart failure, carpal tunnel syndrome, shortness of breath, stomach issues, lower back pain. How does it all add up? If you have heart failure and any of those seemingly unrelated symptoms sound familiar, it's time to talk with your cardiologist and get the full picture. They may add up to transthyretin amyloid cardiomyopathy. ATTR-CM is a rare and underdiagnosed disease. Recognize the signs and discuss them with your doctor soon. Learn more at connectwithyourheart.com. That's connectwithyourheart.com. Sponsored by Pfizer.
See Joe Conklin with the City Rhythm Orchestra with a tribute to Philadelphia sports fans at Springfield High School in Delaware County, Saturday, November 11th. For tickets, go to joeconklin.com. JoeConklin.com!
The future of joint pain relief, it's right here in Philadelphia. Yeah, QC Kinetics, advanced regenerative medicine. It's awesome. If you've been told, oh, you need more steroids, or if you've been told you need surgery and that's your only options, oh, hold on. Just get a second opinion. Learn more about how you can harness your body's own healing agents to attack that joint pain. I'm talking lasting relief. QC Kinetics does not mask the pain. These treatments go to the very core of the problem using concentrated healing properties placed directly into your aching joint, which restore and repair that damaged tissue. So just picture this, living your life this fall, crisp, cool weather, no more pain in your knees, your hips, your aching shoulder, your back. No drugs, no downtime, no surgery. Life is all about moving and motion. QC Kinetics is truly giving people their lives back with these all-natural treatments. I've talked to so many of you, and you've described it as a miracle. Call the local medical professionals. Get a free consultation today. QC Kinetics, the nation's leader in regenerative medicine, 215-999-3000, 215-999-3000. Would you just call them? QC Kinetics, 999-3000. Tell them Dawn sent you.
Free speech lives here. Talk Radio 1210, WPHT, and on the free Odyssey app.
Well, it started out down a dirty road.
7:36, Kayal and Company, heading down the Cut Sheet Road in just about 9 minutes. 855-839-1210 to climb in on the conversation as we head until 10 o'clock this morning. You know, I think as we now enter the third week of shows since the October 7th disastrous day for many, many Jewish individuals with the conflict in the Middle East, you know, we will probably talk less and less about this story, you know, as this goes on, unless obviously big things break. You know, 222 hostages, if they're freed, that will obviously be a talking point. Or once the ground invasion officially occurs, and the White House apparently telling the Israelis to hold off on that, and we'll see when exactly that transpires. But, you know, through 2 weeks of talking about it, I said many times that I was very much surprised at how much pro-Palestinian, pro-Hamas support there was. And we certainly have seen the images. We have heard and watched and seen these video clips throughout big cities in this country, college campuses, and the like. But this was really refreshing and reinvigorating, to say the least, when the latest polling numbers came out from a Harvard Capps Harris poll that was shared with The Hill. As Americans overwhelmingly support Israel in the war with Hamas, more than 80% of Americans side with Israel amid the ongoing war against Hamas in the latest Harvard Caps Harris poll. The survey found that 84% of respondents sided more with Israel in the Israel-Hamas war compared to 16% who sided with Hamas. So that was a little bit of a surprise to me. I was glad to see that. But I am not surprised in the least when you break it down by age, the amount of support goes down with the younger population. And we've talked about these dopes walking all over college campuses with the LGBTQ plus community stands with Palestine and Hamas. And it's like, hey, you do realize that you would be beheaded if you were in that region of the world. And broken down by age, only 52% of 18 to 24-year-olds say that they side more with Israel, while 48% said they side with Hamas. In contrast, 95% of respondents aged 65 years and older said they side with Israel, while 5% side with Hamas. So if you think about it, you have the 65 and up crowd that are very astute. They know what's going on. They understand the conflict. They've been reading about it and studying it and absorbing it for, 50 plus years of their life. And then you have the Gen Z crowd, which, again, is befuddling because, Gen Z is all about diversity, equity, inclusion, equality for all, feelings, yet they are the least sympathetic for a population that for going back hundreds of years now has had to fight for their right to simply exist. I'll never understand the way Gen Z operates in a world where they're legitimately concerned about every single person's feelings of every demographic, young, old, white, black, gay, straight. But when it comes to the Jewish population, they are just completely swinging and missing on this one. That is staggering to me. And that gets me to this one, and this might be the most befuddling of all. We always see these stories about how somebody posts an image for a company or a business or a school, and you're like, how did that slip through the cracks, and who gave the green light to this one? This one happens, and this is from mlive.com, which is like the big publication in and around the state of Michigan. Michigan State University has to apologize, and rightfully so, for using an image of Adolf Hitler on their Spartan Stadium scoreboard.
Are you kidding?
I'm going to just read this to you, and then we can figure out who should be fired and be out of a job. But Michigan State is apologizing after an image of Hitler appeared on their stadium scoreboard Saturday night prior to their big football game against the Michigan Wolverines. Multiple images were circulating on social media on Saturday showing an image of the Nazi leader's face on the stadium's largest scoreboard in conjunction with a trivia question about his answer and his birthplace, which I want to just stop right there. So I'm assuming this was like an in-game trivia, games on ABC. You got all these timeouts, and you got to keep fans engaged during these TV breaks. So they probably put up some sort of trivia, and they have a question and an answer about where Hitler's birth. So first of all, why are we putting up Hitler, first of all? Secondly, talk about being tone deaf, given what's going on in the last 3 weeks of the world.
So true.
This is if you were to rank the most evil, sinister human beings that ever walked Earth, you wouldn't get no argument from me if you put Hitler at number one. And we just talked about, the 18 to 24-year-olds are the least sympathetic for Jewish people.
Yep.
And we're talking about a time in a day and age where you heard Bill Maher in the Big Take this morning with Harvard and free speech and these colleges that just are completely oblivious to things. I'm sorry, I'm not a cancel culture guy, but this dude or girl or whoever came up with this I'm not saying they should be kicked out of school, but if that's their job on the weekend as a university student to organize the scoreboard stuff, you might want to go take a job in the cafeteria or something, because you're out of this gig.
Now, Michigan State has apologized and suspended an employee who they're not naming pending an investigation.
Makes me wonder if it's a student.
So what I actually hope that this was a stupid joke, that they thought that, oh, this, you know what I mean? That they just thought, oh, who's the worst thing I could put up?
Yeah.
And that it's an immature ding-a-ling.
Yeah.
Who just, that it's, hope to God it's not some, I don't know, skinhead or you know what I mean, anti-Semitic group. Hopefully it's some dopey, freshman who, I don't know, was working the board and thought, hey, Hitler, this will be funny.
I've just got to imagine that, it's, the game's an 8 o'clock game, I think it was on Saturday night. Yeah. So it's like 1 o'clock and you're probably sitting down and then you're going, all right, here's our trivia questions. All right, we've got 10 questions. Hey, Bill, I see question 4. You have something here with Hitler. Why don't let's make a little audible here. Let's avoid that. And that process apparently never happened.
Never happened. Jesus on the YouTube chat asked the most important question, guys.
Okay.
He asked this to you and I, Nick. Did Michigan State cover the spread?
Yeah, it's a good question. I don't know. It was a big number. I didn't give it 2 thoughts. I stayed away from that game.
Yeah.
I'll take a look, but I would think that this person is probably going to have some apologizing to do, if in fact his name or her name is ever revealed publicly. Let's grab one call before we get to the cut sheet. Kevin is in Bucks County. He's got some thoughts on the Bud Light pushback. Kevin, you go right ahead, sir.
Good morning, guys.
Hey, Kevin.
First of all, Hitler was born in Austria, so as a German, he's Austrian.
Ah, that's correct.
I was in the beer business for 10 years.
Mm-hmm.
Retail, when we could only sell cases and kegs. We didn't have 6 or 12 packs yet.
Correct.
The law was for us, from the wholesaler, cash on demand. We had to pay with a company check or we didn't get the product.
Okay.
My boss was on vacation once. I wrote a check for $10,000 out of my own, and he was upset because he could have gotten fined by the LCB.
Oh, okay.
So the law could have changed, but from my understanding from when I worked, we had to pay with a company check. You can't pay cash to the driver, and if you don't get it. And markup from the wholesaler, so say from Penn, which is Budweiser, or Riglio is everybody else, it's 27%.
27.
So if I buy something for 15, I sell for 20 plus tax, and the total profit margin at the end of the year is only 10%.
And so now
we were doing $1 million.
Right. So with Bud Light, though, now they're giving these vendors and distributors like 5 days to pay. So this is not the norm.
Well, I'm guessing it's the wholesaler.
Okay.
Because I can only speak from our end on the retail side, from me to sell to you as a customer. Right. So that's what I'm guessing. But for us, our profit take home at the end of the year was 10%. Markup was 27.
Mm-hmm.
But when the brewery was able to sell to the wholesaler, a lot of times the wholesalers, their markup was 100%.
Oh.
To us.
Okay.
Yeah, that's where you make the money.
So,
of course, because you're dealing in volume.
Yeah, Kevin. So I'm just curious because I was always interested in the beer distributorship business because I had a thought about 10 years ago of going into it, but I decided not to because all the grocery stores were getting licenses, and I figured they would put the little guy out of business. Is the small old school distributorship struggling these days against the big grocery stores?
No, because it's a hit and miss, right? I'm here in Southampton. By the way, GregStockerSucks.com. There's 2 stores near us. One was a specialty shop where all they did was 12 and 6 packs. And they did really well, but high end, they really charged a lot. They sold out. They closed. The other one's been in business for decades.
Right.
The thing is, with the grocery stores, they don't offer as much variety. And a lot of people just need like a 6 or 12.
Yeah.
But a lot of people still buy full cases, right?
Right.
So it's just there's more competition. They're not struggling, but they're doing less business than they used to.
Gotcha. Appreciate the call, Kevin. I like how he worked in the GregStockerSucks.com in there.
Yeah, by the way, it's still up there. It redirects to the Families Behind the Badge Children's Foundation. So you can still go to that website and donate, I guess.
I know. Before you know it, the bike ride will be coming back around.
Yeah.
Yeah. 7:46, Monday morning. Let's get to what's on the cut sheet.
What's on the cut sheet?
What's on the cut sheet on this Monday is brought to you by our good friends at Cherry Hill Volvo, where they have ample inventory of brand new and beautiful pre-owned Volvos. Enjoy the luxury experience you deserve. They always go the extra mile for their customers because relationships matter at Cherry Hill Volvo. Check them out on Route 70 in Cherry Hill Volvo, where relationships matter. Tell them you heard about them on 1210 WPHT. So, I don't know if you guys saw this over the weekend, but the there's this discussion, I think CNN was the first to report it, about how the Biden administration is trying to get the Israeli officials to delay the ground invasion because, I mean, it appears that they've been at the ready for 2 weeks now.
Oh, yes.
And something is keeping them from going in.
And Joe is come and gone already, so it's not, like the president.
So he answered this question getting on Air Force One on Friday. And somebody asked him if they want Israel to delay the ground invasion, and he said yes. Then the White House, of course, had to backtrack and say he didn't hear the question. So this is how Peter Doocy reported it on Fox News over the weekend. This is cut 10, Natasha. I'm going to play that right now.
Overnight, there was some real confusion here on the Biden beat as the president, who publicly supports whatever Israel wants to do to Hamas, appeared to confirm reports that privately he is telling the Israelis to pump the brakes.
How was your call with the Americans? Well, Israel delayed the ground invasion and so you can have more hostages out?
You can hear me say
But
yes.
no, the White House says now the president was far away. He didn't hear the full question. The question sounded like, would you like to see more hostages released? He wasn't commenting on anything else. And that's kind of a head scratcher because he could apparently hear the first question just fine. It was the second one that caused problems that the White House has now walked back. We don't expect to see the president today. He's at the beach house in Delaware. Back to you.
And if you were watching on YouTube there, he made it up the steps without tripping.
Yeah.
So he achieved something he rarely does, but then creates a PR nightmare, and the claim is, well, he didn't hear this or blah, blah, blah. So he comes and goes, right? And, we have this delay of the invasion, and it's now been 16 days since the attack. And look, I'm not one for war. I certainly want to keep our troops out of it, although there's still about 4,000 troops that are either, on standby or on the ship as they arrive via the Red Sea. To me, it should be, if you believe Israel has a right to defend themselves and you've got some hostages out, the president's got out safely, and now we are at the point where it's like, okay, go right ahead. I don't understand the delay here unless this is something where he believes the moment Israel attacks, then comes Hezbollah. So you've got Hamas in Israel, Hezbollah from the north, and then all of a sudden American troops. Unless this is just an attempt to de-escalate. But the reality is this, the Israeli forces, I think Dawn mentioned this in the first hour, they have a special task force now that is going to go, their goal is to go basically around, door to door, so to speak, and kill every single Hamas terrorist responsible for the death of Jews on October 7th. So I don't know what the end goal result here and what the aspirations are for this country other than, hey, maybe we just let Israel wipe them out and avoid having to really go in head first with our guys. But he clearly is not communicating what the objective was. And we know Joe's out of it, but Doocy said he heard the first part, right? So
Yeah.
I don't know.
It appears that Israel's their mission is total and complete annihilation,
as it should be,
of Hamas.
Yes.
The problem is we've got others who, and I think the U.S. is trying to delay, but part of this is you've got Hezbollah, you've got others in the region, and I just think it's a really delicate situation. And then you have all those the reports that they're booby trapping, that they've booby trapped hostages or even innocent other civilians or homes, and so this is.
I thought I read too that they booby trapped dead bodies, like in the recovery effort to, so to speak. I hate to be graphic, scoop up people's remains.
Yep.
Then next thing you know, it's like you end up blowing yourself up. So.
Well, in the one family, I think they murdered the mom, and they took the babies. And the one baby, you've seen the baby with the terrorists like holding the baby, but then they booby trapped the mom's body underneath the crib, so that if a family member or soldier went in there and saw, a mommy's body, that they're wired up with explosives. Same with they're doing teddy bears, stuffed animals, children's backpacks. So it's I think there's a lot to consider here, and I think the reason they're just trying to keep those ground forces, because then you've got all the ground clashes, and I think they fear the hostages. That situation will escalate because they're going to use the hostages as human shields. I think that's the obvious big concern.
Yep.
Total annihilation. There's no other.
No.
There's nothing else you can do.
You're having hate crimes, or at least alleged hate crimes here in America now. The Detroit synagogue president, Samantha Wall, was stabbed multiple times outside of her home and killed over the weekend. I don't know if that's 100% linked to her being Jewish and it being a hate crime, but many people are speculating that is the motive here.
Again, I don't want to, what happened was absolutely horrendous. Just be careful about saying hate crimes. That's all I'm saying.
Oh, yeah, no. No, people are allegedly.
No. I'm just saying that, I just hate the term hate crimes.
Okay.
You know what I mean? It's just it's a buzzword that I feel is just.
Well, sometimes it definitely gets overused. There's no doubt about that.
No, it has nothing to do with the word or the term. It has to do with how people use it. Everything now is a hate crime.
But in the case of Detroit, the police did come out later yesterday and said that it's a tragic situation. The synagogue president, Samantha Wall, stabbed to death, but they have no evidence of anti-Semitism, that the motivation was any kind of a, quote, hate crime. So there's still, she was stabbed. Was it a personal? Was it domestic? Was it a robbery? But they're saying that right now they have no evidence that this was motivated by anti-Semitism.
Secretary of State Antony Blinken, was all over the Sunday shows. This is from Face the Nation on CBS, asking about whether the Biden administration have asked Israel to delay the ground attack. He kind of hems and haws and doesn't really answer the question. Cut 2 here, Natasha.
Have you asked the Israeli government to delay in order to give you more time to broker the release of these hostages?
First, step back for a second, because it's important to remember what happened. It's incredible how quickly that gets lost, because it was only a couple of weeks ago that Hamas invaded Israel with its terrorist fighters and slaughtered, and I use that word very deliberately, slaughtered so many people. Again, men, women, young children, babies, old people, you name it. And they continue to rain rockets down on Israel. When I was there a few days ago, we had to take shelter a couple of times because of incoming rockets from Hamas. So my point is this: no country can be expected to tolerate this, to live with this. And as we said from the start, Israel has both the right and even the obligation not only to defend itself, but to try to make sure that, to the best of its ability, this can't happen again. So we talk to the Israelis about what they're planning. We give them our best advice. It's important, as we've said, not only what they do, but how they do it, particularly when it comes to making sure that civilians are as protected as they possibly can be in this crossfire of Hamas is making. But in terms of what we're talking to Israel about with regard to their military operations, it really is focused on both how they do it and how best to achieve the results that they seek.
So I think if you're anti-war, you like the fact that Israel has been delayed with their ground attack. If you're about bringing home American lives that are hostages, and this is one of the reasons why the delay is ongoing, I think you're happy about that as well, and it would make sense logically. But I also think it's very difficult to negotiate with terrorists. It's very, very difficult to try to, negotiate with crazy people, because these people are crazy. And I do think the only way you can end them, at least temporarily, is total destruction of them until the next generation of them are trained and radicalized to become killers. That being said, so what is the motive here with Antony Blinken and this administration? Are they concerned? Because we've seen a lot of these protests in this country. I think there might be a fear of what happens domestically here in this country if Israel goes on the offensive and attacks. And Israel, once they do, they're not playing around. I mean, they
true.
are going to annihilate these people.
Yeah.
And I'm wondering if they're concerned of blowback here in this country with pro-Hamas Palestinians already living in the United States.
Well, the less cynical person in me thinks that maybe they are hoping that they can free more of these hostages, because we know that 2 Americans were freed on Friday. So maybe that's their thinking, that delay their ground invasion until maybe we can get all or most of the hostages out.
Yeah.
That's the least cynical part of me.
Yes.
The more cynical part of me is like, where is Iran in all of this, and are we communicating in some way with Iran? I'm just saying that's the more cynical part of me.
No question.
Speaking of the, I'm going to go to cut 4 here, Natasha. Speaking of the hostages. It was very suspect of why all of a sudden Hamas decided to release these hostages. Anthony Blinken was asked about that on Meet the Press. Kristen Welker asked him, and he even says we don't know why, or at least he's not going to tell her. Cut 4 here.
Tell us why those 2 were released and why now, Mr. Secretary?
I can't. We don't know why Hamas chose to release Natalie and Judith first. And I use the word first advisedly because, again, we're hopeful that more follow. I can't speak to that. What I can speak to is our incessant efforts from day one to try to get people home, to try to get them out of Gaza, back with their families and loved ones. That is continuing as we speak. This is something we're engaged in virtually round the clock.
I think it's a logical question to ask, and I asked this to myself over the weekend when I saw these 2 females be released. What did Hamas get in return? And he says there, I can't tell you, blah, blah, blah. But so I think it's only normal for you to sit there and say, okay, well, the United States was given 2 female American hostages back. What did Hamas get? And also keep in mind, when we talk about that $6 billion in funds and those trades that were made, remember, there was a trade made, plus Iran got that frozen $6 billion in funds. And I know there's, some nuance to that conversation as well. But I think you just have to arrive at the conclusion that they gained something. I don't think Hamas, just out of the goodwill of their hearts, said, here, we're going to let 2 female Americans go. I'm not sure I buy that.
So Qatar, Biden specifically thanked those from Qatar, but also the French president, Emmanuel Macron, spoke out because they have 6 missing French individuals who are believed, along with the 10 missing Americans.
Okay.
So I know that Macron announced over the weekend $10.6 million in additional humanitarian aid for the Palestinians, right? And then, but they're also working with Egypt. I think that's why it's so delicate. So through the French, through Qatar, what they're trying to do is say we're holding off the ground forces. Hold off, hold off, hold off. The longer they hold off, they believe they can get more hostages out alive.
Am I the only one, and I don't want to come off callous here when I say this, but am I the only one that has suspicions every time I see humanitarian aid and the millions and millions given to Palestine or Palestinians or Gaza? I mean, we know there's a good chance that money could end up in the hands of Hamas. And yet here we are, once again, whether it's us or other nations, just giving this money to, in all likelihood, that could be intercepted. We saw, 76 seats on their parliament are controlled by Hamas. I'm not saying 100% of Palestinians are pro-Hamas. I'm not implying that at all. But it is a pretty big majority. I kind of look at this when my eyebrows pop up every time I see this money being handed out.
Yeah, what's it really going to be used for?
That's
right?
my point.
Yeah.
And I get it. You do need humanitarian. There is a humanitarian crisis going on there. So I get that. But
I think they're confident that they can. They got another big Hamas leader just overnight. So they've gotten a lot of the leadership. And I think that's what they're confident of, that if they just do laser-focused attacks to take out the leadership, splinter them enough, that they get in there, they can save the hostages, and then they can take over and then work to find any other radicalized Hamas members. Because remember, this is a militarized, that's the tricky part of this. A lot of these young boys and men who became part of Hamas, they haven't had free elections The last one was 2006.
Wow.
So they were ultimately, they thought that they were voting for hope and change and reform back in 2006.
Mm-hmm.
That group militarized, scooted out Fatah, who's the minority, who's the more moderate, better folks to work with. And so they forced some of these boys and young men to join up. I think that's the tough piece of this, that they're trying their best to get the leadership and the most radicalized, if you will, and try to salvage something to bring some level of government back, the Fatah, to bring back the infrastructure.
Mm-hmm.
Because otherwise, you've just inherited another hot mess for another 20 years.
Who do you think will get it together first, Dawn? Hamas or the GOP?
Oh my goodness.
Jake Tapper, one more on why would Hamas just release to Americans? He asked John Kirby this on State of the Union on Sunday. This is cut 15, Natasha.
But why would Hamas release them? I mean, they wouldn't do it out of the goodness of their hearts. They're a brutal, ruthless terrorist organization. Why would they just release these two Americans?
Yeah, Jake, I think it's going to be we're going to have to be careful about what we say in terms of the machinations here that were required to get them home or get them out of there, because we know that there's still some Americans being held hostage, and we want to get them back to their families too. So I hope you can understand that we're not really going to be able to talk much about motivations and the details here.
There you go.
So total waste of time for John Kirby to even be on there. But for the first time in the history of this program, Jake Tapper and I on the same page. Hamas just isn't doing this out of the goodness of their heart. And Kirby almost implies there that he can't get into specifics. So I think there was some sort of deal struck.
Well, yeah, there is, but that's the fact that Kirby is saying this gives me hope.
Okay.
To me, what he's not saying is, I can't talk because this is such a delicate, sensitive, we're negotiating right now. And so that actually gives me a whole lot of hope that the negotiation, because once you stop talking, they're dead.
Right.
That's the end of it. Once they go in with that ground invasion, all bets are off. And you might as well, I mean, I hate to say it, but once they go in with a ground invasion and they start blowing stuff up, and you know what I mean, then it gets really ugly. And they're way down, 100 feet down in these tunnels. Oh, my God.
Yeah.
I just think that they're doing everything they can in a very delicate negotiation.
I still think there's some PR spin and damage control here, because I think the way they've handled this administration, the left, Democrats in general, squad Dems for sure, hasn't gone overly well in this country in the last 2.5 weeks. So I feel like if they were to share some of the secrets, I think it would be more of a PR nightmare and a PR mess for this administration. But to your point, those tunnels 100 feet down, I mean, that's Hamas. That's their backyard. That's advantage Hamas. You could have probably the most highly tactical trained special ops forces sent in there, whether they're Israelis or Americans. But I'd hate to think of it this way, but it feels like going down there, because we talked about it. Some of the missiles and the drones from above, they can't penetrate through the ground that far down. I feel like Hamas can pick you off down there because they know the layout much better than anybody.
I think, I don't care what anybody says, they can't forget when Trump said to his generals, send in the Moab. If they kill these Americans, if there's no hope for these Americans, I think deep down these guys over there know, the Hamas terrorists know, it doesn't matter. It's the same military, it's the same commanders. They're going to send in the Moab. So you best negotiate and get the best deal you can.
Yep. Speaking
of the squad, somebody mentioned the squad. Ilhan Omar and Ayanna Pressley held a press conference. I think this was on Friday. A reporter is asking why Israel shouldn't have a right to defend itself against the terrorists who brutally tortured and killed so many innocent children, women, and men. And of course, Ilhan Omar did not take this well, so started yelling at the reporter about innocent Palestinian lives. Cut 14 here, Natasha.
A question from anyone else?
How many more killings is enough for you? Is it 1,000 more? 2,000 more? 3,000 more? How many more Palestinians would make you happy if they died? Will you be fine if all of the people of Gaza were gone? Would that make you happy?
Yes.
Would that be the thing that makes you proud? And maybe that's the question you should ask Richie. Is he okay? How many more Palestinian lives is he comfortable with? Because I'm not comfortable with any more.
Oh, these despicable people.
I know.
She's
the most detestable of
and
them all.
she walks away. If you're watching right now on YouTube, she walks away.
Yes.
Just like, ugh.
Yeah, and the other individuals are there like almost speechless at the
Yeah,
podium.
it's a ceasefire now. It's a ceasefire now rally. You know,
Mm-hmm.
there was, as you can see, there was about 4 people there for that. But I can't, like, ceasefire.
I know. I'm trying to, like, who does she appeal to? And I think there's a lot of people on both sides of the aisle that want some of these squad Dems relieved of some of their duties, some of the committees that they're on. And Omar's got a track record of this. She's made it very clear where she stands with these issues. And she's just another one. I've never seen her smile. I've never seen her. She just these squad Dems are just such angry, evil. Like they're just filled with hatred. You can see it pouring out of their pores.
Mike Carr on the YouTube chat says she's like an evil Disney villain.
She really is. She's
You know
like
what?
who's the one that
Cruella.
Yeah,
Cruella. She wants to kill the Dalmatians.
Yeah.
I think
My
that's the movie, right?
goodness.
Cruella
Yeah.
DeVille, 101 Dalmatians.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's who she is.
I just, like, where was the call for, like, the ceasefire when Hamas was brutally murdering?
Mm-hmm.
Like, you don't expect Israel to take action? Are you effing kidding me?
Yep.
You crazy lunatic.
That's what happens.
Can I
when you're-
curse?
Yes.
Can I curse?
You do whatever you want.
I would have to fire myself if I did, so I can't. I just want to curse so bad.
Myself.
I
That's
hate
funny.
I hate the
Anthony,
FCC.
you are fired.
I hate the FCC.
Yeah.
I hate the FCC that I can't curse on this 50,000 watt.
Well, get it out of your system, and you have a dumb button in there. It'll never make it. Just do it, release it.
All right,
and then
ready?
boom.
I'm gonna curse off.
Yes.
Beep, beep.
He's actually cursing in there. I actually slightly heard you in my earbuds. I could hear it. Wow. Did that feel good? You feel better now?
I feel good.
All right. Stalker really did curse. He just yelled. His head almost exploded in the studio.
Yeah, if you're watching on YouTube, you could have seen me.
Sometimes a good cursing works.
So, you know, they're rallying around each other for this ceasefire now thing. This is an IDF soldier that was on one of the Sunday shows over the weekend saying when the world fought against Hitler, nobody was calling for a ceasefire.
Right.
I mean, it's a valid point. Cut 6 here, Natasha.
You know, some of the advocates here in the United States, when they take to the streets, they talk about demanding a ceasefire. Is Hamas living up to that?
Well, I have to say, when the world fought against Hitler, they didn't call for a ceasefire. You can't negotiate and you can't talk with an organization. How can we make peace with people that burn our civilians alive? So the sole mission is to dismantle Hamas. And it is true that there is a humanitarian crisis inside the Gaza Strip, but it is caused by the Hamas terror group. They are holding Palestinian people as hostages, operating from within densely populated areas against Israel. They don't care for Palestinian people. Israel, on the other hand, has called for peace, made peace in the Middle East. Israel is clearly not an obstacle for peace, but a solution.
Yeah, I mean, the Israelis are not the antagonists here. They're merely the respondents after their people were attacked and slaughtered. You know, just to like make it, just to kind of, you know, illuminate just how absurd this idea of a ceasefire is. It's like, you know, remember back in the day, you'd get into a little fight on the school ground, and you would punch somebody in the face, and then that guy would get ready to punch you back, and then you'd be like, oh, I'm sorry. You know what? Let's call it a truce. Shake on it. Good. Like, that's what people are arguing for here.
Yeah.
You know, you don't get to slaughter almost 2,000 people and then say, well, let's try to work things out. Because going into October 7th, things had been relatively stable over there. For their standards and the bloody history between these groups of people, it was relatively, things were pretty calm.
Yes,
and then
true.
Hamas just decided to get rowdy. It doesn't work that way.
The only way Israel is going to have any sort of semblance of peace in that region is total destruction, total annihilation. And I hate to say it, but it's the truth.
Oh, yeah. But it's not even just one group because, you know, you take out Hamas, and then we know Hezbollah is 10 times stronger. They have 100,000 soldiers. They have 130,000 drones and missiles. So you can eradicate one extreme group, And then here comes another one. Remember, we had the fight against Al-Qaeda, and then next thing you know, ISIS pops up, and then you're sitting there researching, okay, well, what's the difference between this group and that group? You're never going the point being, sadly, you will never eradicate extreme Islamic fighters. Like that's always, for the rest of history, that's going to be a thing. But you can dismantle this specific faction for sure.
You and Dawn speak a lot about Trey Yingst. He's a Fox News reporter who's embedded there in Gaza. He went on over the weekend, and he was discussing the details of the Hamas attack, and he even said that some of them are too disturbing to even explain on TV.
Wow.
These were revealed by the interrogation of a Hamas terrorist, Israeli officials did. So, when we hear this ceasefire and we hear this peace now and all this nonsense that these college dopes and the squad morons are discussing, this is what the Israeli people are up against. I just want to remind, that's why I think this is important to play, to hear what they're up against. This is cut 13, Natasha.
We do have some breaking news for you here. Fox News has obtained and reviewed an Israeli interrogation video of a Hamas militant who participated in the October 7th massacre. I do need to warn our viewers, what I am about to describe is incredibly graphic, but it gives new details on what took place 2 weeks ago. In the video, you see a Hamas militant. He is in a white cloth jumpsuit sitting across from an Israeli interrogator. That interrogator is asking him questions. This militant was captured outside of Alumim, a small community, a kibbutz that sits on the border with Gaza. In the video, he describes the preparation and coordination for this assault on southern Israel. He talks about a Telegram group that Hamas fighters had, and they were communicating as the massacre took place, sending videos as they got them, as they were killing civilians in their homes. And this interrogator asks him about Islam, and he acknowledges that in the religion, you are told not to kill women, children, and elderly people. But he describes what Hamas commanders told them to do. He says that commanders said they could do whatever they felt like doing, and that this was a suicide mission, telling them they should not plan on coming back. New details about what exactly was going through the minds of these militants as they entered and slaughtered so many innocent people. He says commanders told them to step on the heads of civilians, to behead them, and do whatever they felt like. He went on to talk about how Hamas and ISIS are being compared. The interrogator asked him about this comparison, and he agreed. He said, we burned, we slaughtered, and beheaded people. And then he went on to ask more questions. And this interrogator was pushing this Hamas fighter and this militant to get more information from him. And he said, we became animals, things that humans do not do. And when the interrogator asked him, what type of things did you do to these civilians after you killed them? He described them. And we can't describe them to you because they are too graphic to explain on television. But it gives you a sense of what exactly took place. More than 1,400 Israelis slaughtered at the hands of Hamas militants who entered southern Israel on October 7th, starting this conflict that's erupted behind us. And we do know by this video that we obtained and reviewed, they were given coordinated, specific plans to come into Israel and put all beliefs aside with one goal in mind, to inflict as much terror on the civilian population here as possible.
So, savage, barbaric, he even described it as doing something what an animal would do. You know, when you talk about the rules of engagement and you talk about war, and I mean, but you have this segment where they're saying, no, we have rules, but you don't need to adhere to them. Rules be damned, inflict fear. That's what terror is all about. Women, babies, everything that's, quote, off limits is now fair game, which is why if you're Israel or any forces for the United States, you shouldn't even play by any, because this isn't a war against, one nation. Like, this is a war against terror where there really are no rules.
Well, one of the things that he said at the end there, which I find interesting, is where were they getting these plans to go in there? I mean, I get it.
You say telegrams? I thought I heard in there.
Plans.
Yeah.
He said, I get it. They're coming from whatever generals or whatever they are in, that Hamas organization.
Mm-hmm.
But they had very detailed plans of how to, do things and where to go. And there was a huge intelligence failure in this, a huge one.
Do you waive the rules for interrogations in these situations with these people?
Well, no, because you want to get
I mean, if he's cooperating, then obviously you don't have to. But
two things, you could really get some information out of these people. So
but this guy seemingly was. And I don't know what the video looked like of the interrogation, but seemingly giving and cooperating and saying this was what was told and this was the plan. But when you capture more of these radical fighters and they don't talk, I mean, is it all hands on deck, do whatever you want to get the information out of them? Or should you still adhere to, I'm thinking back to in the war on terror in the last 20 years, remember the waterboarding and things like that? With these madmen.
Torture, remember they called that?
Yeah.
But, to my point earlier about, some of these young men or boys, teenage boys, think about their lives if they were born in, let's say, 2006, when Hamas, right? That was the last real uncontested election they've had.
Mm-hmm.
So these are now teenagers. They get indoctrinated and brainwashed and so on. The fact that this young man is saying, we were always to believe of our faith that we would never, harm a woman, a child, etc. And so this is going against their own faith. And so I think the fact that he's so cooperative, because morally, these are kids. This was horrifying to them, and they were sucked into something horrifying and evil, right. And they realize that. I think that's a good thing that they're cooperating.
Yep.
And so they're not hardened criminals. They're kids. They're teenagers.
We go back to Anthony Blinken, who was on Meet the Press with Kristen Welker there, and talking about Iran. He said that we expect there's a likelihood the escalation in the Israel-Hamas war coming from Iran against U.S. forces. This is cut 5.
As I had mentioned earlier, we have seen an uptick in attacks against U.S. military facilities, against troops around the region. Overnight, the Pentagon announced it was actually increasing its force posture in the region. How concerned are you about Iran trying to escalate this war?
We are concerned. In fact, we expect that there's a likelihood of escalation by Iranian proxies directed against our forces, directed against our personnel. We are taking steps to make sure that we can effectively defend our people and respond decisively if we need to. This is not what we want, not what we're looking for. We don't want escalation. We don't want to see a second or third front develop. We don't want to see our forces or our personnel come under fire. But if that happens, we're ready for it.
Is the U.S. opposed to a preemptive strike by Israel, as has been discussed by some Israeli officials?
The Israelis have been very clear with us, and we share this view. No one wants a second or third front, including when it comes to Lebanon, northern Israel, southern Lebanon. That's not in anyone's interest, and that's exactly why we've sent a very strong message to try to deter Hezbollah, deter Iran more directly from opening up a second front. You've heard the president speak to this very clearly. He has put countries and non-state actors on warning. Don't take advantage of this situation. We've also deployed very significant assets to the region, 2 aircraft carrier battle groups, not to provoke, but to deter, to make clear that if anyone tries to do anything, we're there. So my expectation is that, again, coming from us, coming from Israel, no one is looking for that second front.
So I've said this before, I'll say it again. I don't think this is happening under Donald Trump's watch. I think a lot of this is happening because Joe Biden projects weakness and fragility to the biggest actors on the global stage. And I think, I was thinking about this over the weekend. I watched some of the Sunday shows yesterday. In a way, it feels like Israel and Gaza right now are Trump and Biden, and they're going at each other. And Iran and the United States are like Gavin Newsom and Ron DeSantis prior to DeSantis officially launching his campaign. Remember how we were talking about these other politicians just kind of laying in the weeds, lurking, waiting to see what happens? That's what I feel like the United States and Iran are doing right now. And again, over the weekend, a lot of people saying Iran, Russia, China, the new axis of evil. Hamas doesn't concern me. Hezbollah doesn't concern me. Iran concerns me. That is the one nation that...
Yeah, but if you look at, if you look at it, who's really funding The Israelis, the United States. Who's really funding Hezbollah and Hamas? Iran.
Right.
So
And Hezbollah is serious. They are serious.
Oh,
yeah,
yes.
I mean, yeah, that's look what it's the 40th anniversary of what happened in Beirut.
right.
And that was Hezbollah.
Yep.
That was really the start of the war on terror.
Yeah.
In 1983.
Yep.
So look, that's an organization that has that is well funded, well organized, unlike Hamas, who just seems to be a rogue bunch of. It's not, but it appears to be like a rogue bunch of people.
Correct.
Hezbollah is very organized, and they are funded to the 10th degree by Iran.
Yep.
A senior Israeli official said on MSNBC over the weekend that the U.S. should expect a war that could last as long as 10 years.
Well, the war on terror, quote, that lasted for how long?
Where have we heard this?
17 years?
Yeah, where have we heard this before? 20. I mean, Afghanistan was 20 years.
I know.
Cut 9.
This week, President Biden became the first sitting president to visit Israel during war, and the New Yorker is reporting senior Israeli officials are warning the U.S. to expect a war that could last as long as 10 years.
God.
Joining me now is Peter Baker, MSNBC political analyst and chief White House correspondent for the New York Times. Peter, you wrote one heck of a story. You're the perfect person to discuss all this with because you flew on the plane on Air Force One with the president on that whirlwind trip to Israel. You spoke with him there on the way home. But before we get to that, let me ask you about this headline, 10 years? Where is that coming from and on what is it based?
Well, I think it's a recognition that you can't send a ground invasion into Gaza without it becoming quite an urban combat nightmare. We've seen this before in recent years, places like Mosul and Fallujah for the Americans in Iraq. And I think David Petraeus, the former American general, has said this might be like Mogadishu on steroids. It's not easy for any military, even a competent, effective one like the Israeli military, to go into an urban hostile zone like this, where there are tunnels, where you can't make a distinction between civilians and fighters, where in fact you never know how to impose any kind of order even after you do take out the target you're trying to take. And they think that this could be a very, very long-lasting war. Now that may be them trying to set expectations, but they're trying to make the point, the Israelis are, that this is just like the flare-ups we've seen over the years, where Hezbollah or Hamas or somebody else takes some shots, the Israelis retaliate, and then everybody moves on after a few days or weeks. This is something that they're looking at as an existential kind of situation where their deterrence has been lost as far as they're concerned, and they feel the need to return that and destroy Hamas no matter what it takes.
Sounds to me like there's a lot of money to be made. Sadly, a lot of lives will be lost. But this doesn't seem 10 years. It doesn't take 10 years to beat Hamas. This sounds like a bigger picture issue with a presence in the Middle East for reasons that go way above and beyond Hamas.
Agreed. What do you think? What do you think lasts longer? The Israeli Hamas war or Russia-Ukraine?
I will go the Middle East. I'll go Middle East lasts longer. I don't think Russia Ukraine goes 10 years.
Well, I think that if we're looking at it from just strategy, like I don't see how the Russia Ukraine thing ends. You know what I mean? Like there's really no end for it. The Israelis are going.
The funding has to end from America.
But I mean, like as far as a tactical war,
right.
what happens that they, you know what I mean? Like there's really no ending to that war.
So you don't see Russia saying, "Wow, this took way longer than I thought. We gotta."
No, I don't.
Okay.
Or maybe doing that in the short term and then doing it again. I just think that the Israeli strategy here is total annihilation. And if they go in in it from that aspect, I can see this ending a lot faster than the Russia-Ukraine thing.
Yeah, but again, it's not just Israel versus Hamas. This is Israel versus the Middle East and Islamic extremism, which is never going to go. I know we can always sit here, the goal is global peace, and we had peace and prosperity under Trump, but those tensions never really go away. There's always going to be tension between the Arabs and the Jews. There's always going to be tension with other nations and other communist dictatorships, China and what their aspirations are. I mean, we can sit here and say, I'd love to see blah, blah, but the reality is, at this point, I've lost faith in it. It's a fact of life. It's a way of life, sadly.
How are our political officials handling this? Leader McConnell was on Face the Nation on Sunday yesterday, and there's this push now because Biden in his State of the Union, or not State of the Union, but his primetime address that he did last week, said he wants $100 billion for both Israel and Ukraine. There's a push by Republicans in Congress to separate the two. And Leader McConnell does not seem to be a fan of that. Cut 3.
There's resistance among some Republicans, including here in the Senate, about bundling things together. Is it possible to pass Ukraine aid if it's not tied to Israel?
I just think that's a mistake. I know there are some Republicans in the Senate and maybe more in the House.
He does not sound well.
Think Ukraine is somehow different. I view it as all interconnected.
He does not sound well.
No,
right?
He looks out of it again as well. I'm trying to give you the numbers for that package because I gave you the breakdown on Friday's show. You're right. It was $100 billion. I want to say it was $60 billion. I think in Russia, Ukraine aid, $14 billion for Israel, and then there was a couple of other things like humanitarian aid in general was $10 million. These warmongers, they just can't help themselves. Just burn through as much money as possible. Although it's still better than the alternative because if like the Lindsey Grahams of the world had their way, I mean it would just be nuke city.
All right. Well, let me ask you guys this then, because it has to be one or the other.
Of course.
So would you rather have all this money going there, or would you rather send troops?
Really, what it comes down to is: do I want my money going there? Or do I want somebody else's son going there?
Exactly.
It's a lose-lose. I'd rather give up my money than see people die.
Yeah.
I don't know. I think that's the way I would look at it. I've got the numbers here now. So it's $14 billion for Israel, $60 billion for Ukraine, $10 billion for general humanitarian aid, $7 billion for the Indo-Pacific, $100 million for Gaza. Think about that. $100 million to Gaza. That's the way it was packaged and labeled.
Yeah.
That's going to end up in the hands of the terrorists.
Yeah. There's no question.
Yep.
There's just no question.
Right. Which keeps the war machine going, which is why they sit there and say, well, we could see this lasting up to 10 years. Well, of course. Yes, if some of your funds don't get appropriated 100% to the intended cause, yes, then you funnel the bad guy's money inadvertently. It's just a mess.
All this while the GOP still doesn't have a speaker.
Yep.
Nine candidates? Is that what we were saying this morning?
Hamas is more organized than Republicans.
Representative Byron Donalds was on with Greg Kelly over the weekend, and he says that he is officially a candidate for Speaker of the House. Cut 8.
You're a candidate now officially for Speaker?
I am a candidate officially. We put out a notice on our X telling the American people and my colleagues that I've thrown my hat in the ring to run for Speaker of the House. Look, let's be very clear. Our House right now, we're having some issues. We can repair those issues, but it requires us to be unified, number one, go back to business and secure our border, actually fund this government responsibly, and then continue to lay out that conservative vision for the people who sent us here. That job can still be done. I believe I am the leader that can get that job done. That's why I threw my hat in the ring to run for Speaker of the House.
Huge news, I think. This is great. My top two were Jim Jordan and Byron Donalds all along.
True. You said that.
But, here's the question. Can Byron Donalds win over the votes that Jim Jordan couldn't? I mean, Jim Jordan was going in the wrong direction from 20 to 22 to 25. How does Byron Donalds win those people over? because Byron Donalds is very much pro-Trump. He's very much a very conservative guy, a lot like Jim Jordan. Okay, maybe he doesn't have some of the dislikability and the baggage that Jim Jordan has, but how does he achieve what Jim Jordan couldn't?
I think Byron Donalds has far less baggage, even though he's a Trump supporter.
Agreed.
Right.
And a conservative. He's 44 years young.
Mm-hmm.
You like him. You like his wife. You like what they've said. He just comes to the table with far less baggage than anybody else.
Mm-hmm.
And yet, unlike the other 8 who announced by the deadline of noon yesterday, you know he has a little bit of a national persona.
Mm-hmm. I think it's a no-brainer. I'm just wondering how, he does what Jim Jordan was not able to do. And yes, less baggage for sure. But again, as I said in the first hour, he's going to drive the left nuts.
I think some of those holdouts, too, are just so upset with what
happened to McCarthy?
Well, not just that. So upset with the 8 who did this and then didn't have a plan.
Right.
As to that, I think that whoever they put up is going to fail.
That's what I said all along with Gates. I said, I had no problem if you dislike Kevin McCarthy, because I don't love Kevin McCarthy either. But if you do this, you better come through with what your goal and your plan is, or you're going to have egg on your face. And right now he has egg on his face.
So I don't know if these people are they just didn't want Jim Jordan, or if it's anybody that they put up because they feel like this group didn't have a plan. If anybody has the best chance at it, in my opinion, it's Byron Donalds.
Yeah,
I think he has the best chance out of any of them too. But if he doesn't get it, I don't know where the concession is. I don't know where they go from here.
Yeah, what they're running into the problem is there's so many different rhinos that don't want somebody that's super far right.
Yeah, well,
sadly,
I don't think it's so much that. I don't think it's so much that. I think it was what Dawn talked about, the baggage of Jim Jordan. I think the baggage that they look at from him is his close alignment with Trump and January 6th. And so Byron Donalds is kind of, yes, he's a Trump supporter and he's, a conservative, but he doesn't have that sort of baggage, the J6 Trump stuff.
Yeah, he's not linked to that as much.
Yes, that Jim Jordan does. So if anybody has the best chance, it's definitely him.
Mm-hmm.
Jake Tapper had Representative Mike Turner on over the weekend when he just got right down to it, cut 12.
I hope you don't take this personally, but do you guys have any idea how clownish you look?
Wow, Jake.
Well, Jake, I'm very fond of saying that Congress is like high school, but even more so. So hopefully we'll get past this. And, I certainly have been part of the governing majority, and I'm going to stay part of that and look forward to those who are on the fringes hopefully coming together so that we can get a speaker.
Boy, Jake Tapper, that was like a talk radio shot there. That sounded like something that come out of my mouth. Would have been great there if Turner was like, yeah, have you seen how clownish your ratings have been lately? That would have been really good. But it's almost an admission there from Turner that, yeah, we are a circus. I mean, he basically said, yeah, we're a lot like high school. And sadly, that it is. We're funding we're funding these people to put on these sideshow circuses. Which, by the way, tomorrow, Dawn, you said 9 a.m. is the next round?
That's when they're scheduled.
Cool.
But remember, so you look at this and you look at the deadline, because earlier this month we said that they did have that, that funding bill that would just be the gap, that would fill the gap, 45 days, tick-tock. So we're looking at mid-November. So we had the extension, but now we're running out of time.
Yep.
Yeah.
And a lot of this, I just think a lot of what's happening in all of these delicate negotiations with Israel, a lot of this, I think what the Biden administration wants is to make the deal inclusive of more money for Ukraine. Because remember, we had talked about that, what was that, Friday? 60% of that big $105 billion package was actually, 60 billion was for Ukraine. So far, I was looking up, the U.S. so far has unleashed a war chest worth more than $43 billion in security assistance. You look at all of this money, it's unbelievable what we've already given to Kyiv.
Yep.
So this would be 43 plus the 60.
Oh, my God.
Good God.
So SNL, back from their writer strike, took their opening, their cold open, as they call it, to go after Jim Jordan and Donald Trump. Again, like these cold opens, like I get the Trump stuff, but do you think the SNL viewer knows who Jim Jordan is?
Not a clue.
And it, like, I guess it kind of looks like him a little bit. Like, if you're watching, you can see the video.
Okay.
YouTube.com/@1210WPHD. YouTube.com/@1210WPHD. By the way, we're one like away from 100, so please hit the like button. Also, hit the subscribe button, please. Please hit the subscribe button. YouTube.com/@1210WPHD to see this video. We said earlier that our buddy Sean Farash way better Trump than this guy is. This guy's decent, but he doesn't, like, he's not Sean.
Okay. Now, is he a cast member or is he an outside hire? Like
no,
he's
a cast member.
Okay.
I forget his name off at the top of my head. But the Jordan is, like, there's no real speaking like Jordan, so he just kind of has the shirt on with no jacket and has his sleeves rolled up. You know, like I don't know. It's a hard watch.
Cut phone and there's
just cut the video.
All right. So I think
they were so bored. The problem is they were cutting this, and it was so boring, and it went on way too long. They fell asleep.
Farash definitely sounds much better.
Yeah.
I give that Trump impression like a 6.5 out of 10.
Yeah, maybe.
But the Jim Jordan look, I mean, okay, I never noticed. Is he always one of those dress shirt sleeves rolled up kind of guy?
Oh yeah,
that's
I never even noticed.
That's his look.
That's his look.
But the truth is, it was really inside baseball. But even for those inside baseball, I just didn't think it was funny.
Yeah.
The number one rule is you got to be funny.
Yeah.
They're not funny. And you know what? When have they on SNL ever made fun of KJP or Biden?
They don't.
They have so much fodder, and they could do Dana Carvey. They wouldn't have to be. They wouldn't have to be mean-spirited, but come on, there's a lot to work with there.
When they've done Joe,
make it funny.
When they've done Joe, and that just goes to show you how bad that show is. They had to bring in Alec Baldwin to do Trump, which is going to cost them a lot of money.
And he wasn't funny.
And he wasn't good either. And when they did go Biden a few times, it was Jim Carrey that they brought back to do Biden, which was actually pretty funny. But again, Jim Carrey's not doing that for free. So, yeah, I agree with you there. But, you know, I think we mentioned this, and we've addressed this in the past. They don't do a ton with KJP.
Nothing.
Well, they do a little bit with Kamala.
Yes.
But they don't do anything with Karine Jean-Pierre because
actually,
female, minority.
Wait, that's a great, because who was Kamala Harris? It was
Maya Rudolph.
Maya Rudolph. She hasn't been. I haven't seen her.
Too. Yeah. They gotta bring back an old cast member to do that.
So you're telling me that they don't have?
No.
There's nobody there who does Biden, right?
I don't think so.
I haven't seen.
I've only seen Jim Carrey do Biden.
I think the guy that does Trump also does Biden. I could be wrong.
He
but
does.
I think
You are correct.
Okay.
He does. He could. They just don't want to make fun of. I mean, their bias. These are people who love to be funny, and that's their mission in life. But because they're so biased, so hateful of conservatives and MAGA Republicans, that they're giving up the funny. Shame on you.
I want to look at this current SNL cast. Do they not have an African American female on the cast?
Yes, they definitely do.
Because
they do.
Kenan Thompson, he's been around. By the way, if you're on SNL for 20 years, it's because you're not good and you're not going anywhere. SNL's a launching pad for bigger and better things. It's not a career position.
It's true.
Yeah. So Mr. Goodburger and Nickelodeon, Kenan Thompson, like, bro, you've been there since like 2004.
It's amazing.
Yes.
Can I do one before we go to Dawn's Big Three? I just want to play this one thing. It's more of a visual. It's actually only a visual. This is cut 11 there. If we can do so, apparently yesterday during the Chiefs Chargers game, Taylor Swift was in the audience, and her and Brittany Mahomes have a new handshake.
I know.
Can you run this, Natasha? Can you run that on the YouTube chat? Cut 11 there. I just want to show you. So this was the CBS game. So there they are, and
speaking of tight ends,
so they do this weird handshake. It's just it's just so annoying.
Yeah.
She's there in her Chiefs jersey, her Chiefs sweatshirt.
Yep.
It's super annoying.
I know it is, and Travis Kelce had a great day yesterday on National Tight End Day, but then I was so happy to see Dallas Goedert have a big night on National Tight End Day. And here's my problem. It's again, and by the way, my daughters went to see the Taylor Swift thing again yesterday with their mom. This time in the afternoon, so they could not fall asleep, so they could make it all the way through. Again, it's not being anti-Taylor Swift. I'm not a consumer of her music. I certainly don't align with her politics. And yes, she's a factor with voting. She was able to sign up 35,000 new registered Democrats, presumably. But it's like, I hate to be like a chauvinistic pig here, but football.
Oh no!
This is my space.
Look out! Dawn.
This is my time. Okay.
What?
Dawn's gonna throw something at you.
I love watching football with a lady. I'm not against that. I just don't need Taylor Swift infringing upon my enjoyment. Can't you just go elsewhere? Can't you go to an NBA game?
I think it's great that you have all these young women who are like, oh my God, like
she knows nothing about football.
Oh my God, like what's a tight end? That was genuine. That was so funny. But they're learning football and interested in football. I think it's a hoot. I don't mind it at all. And what if she were a conservative Christian girl who were, somebody who was, I don't know. Are there conservatives who get people to vote? See, that's just it. Conservatives already vote.
Yep.
You don't need who's your influencer? Jesus? I really don't think. Do you know what I'm saying?
Jesus just signed up 30,000 new Republicans on Twitter.
I don't really think conservatives need to follow somebody. It's just the scare. Well, but they don't. They don't. I actually don't think they follow Trump necessarily.
Okay.
I think
all right.
if you're a conservative,
Sure.
you were a
They bathe in
conservative.
his bathwater.
You live in it.
He didn't create conservatives. He just gave.
He answered their movement.
Right. He answered the call of duty.
That's correct.
But it just shows you what sheep on the other side, young women, unfortunately, have become.
I'm sure we could have a big celebrity social media influencer who's a closet conservative, but the problem is he's a closet conservative, or she is a closet. I mean, for all we know, and I'm going to guess she's liberal, but what if Carrie Underwood was actually a conservative?
She is.
Is she really?
I think she is.
Okay, but she's never really. But what if she used her platform?
Well, she does the
Sunday night football, right?
Yeah.
But what if she came out and said, we need to get more Republicans registered? In some regards, now I think she's above being canceled, but it would be it would probably be bad for her business bottom line. See, that's the difference, though. Taylor Swift can do it, and it's embraced. If Carrie Underwood would come out and do it, you'd have people like Joy Behar and Joy Reid, doing their monologue in their opening bit on how despicable Carrie Underwood is. I thought she was a beautiful girl, and come to think of it now, I realize she's a Trump supporter. That's what you would get.
By the way, the Chiefs also 6-1. I think they're the only, because the 49ers play tonight, right? So
correct.
We are the Chiefs and the Eagles, only teams that are 6-1. Are we heading for a collision course again?
Could we see a rematch
in February? That's
where,
what I mean.
Yes, where it's not only the Phillies and the Astros, but the Chiefs and the Eagles.
Absolutely.
It's like Groundhog's Day around here.
Absolutely. And with two completely different results. I'm just telling. Yes. How great would it be to have Taylor Swift in the Eagles,
Oh, I know. How great would it be to get your second Super Bowl, and this time you beat Andy Reid?
Exactly.
The guy that should have got you at least one when he was here.
Yep.
So there you go.
All right, let's do the big three.
All right, cut sheet in the books. Part due coming up in about 13 minutes. I'm just kidding. That was a long cut sheet this morning. Coming off of a weekend.
I have a lot of stuff. There's, it's a weekend.
Loved it.
Yep.
All right, 8:46. Let's get to Dawn Stensland's Big Three at 8.
It's the Big Three at 8 on Kayal and Company.
Big Three, other stories of the day, sponsored by American Heritage Credit Union. It's a bird. It's a plane. No, it's Amazon's newest drone delivery. Can deliver packages weighing up to 5 pounds through light rain in under an hour. They call it Prime Air Drone, coming soon. So drones are going to deliver. They're smaller, they're faster, they can fly twice as far as the old drones, and they're custom designed, less noisy. So they're the delivering future. They're going to deliver your medications.
Wow.
Yeah,
okay.
So they're going to lower pharmacy prices. This is what they say.
That's fine by me. I mean, if we're going to lose all of our CVSs in the inner cities because they get looted, we got to go to the new alternative.
Right. So,
which, by the way, can I just say this about drones? Because Mike Opelka has a drone. He likes to fly it around at his golf course in Delaware. You ever get a little uneasy when you're just kind of in your neighborhood and you see a little drone? Yeah. I know they're a trendy new thing, but I'm always skeptical of what is the motive of that drone being 35 feet above my tree in my yard,
Yeah, I just wonder, because the big thing here, because we're seeing this big shakeup with CVS pharmacies, they're closing or limiting things, right? And you're hearing all of this, and they're laying off, and so one of the big changes that's happening is that the Amazon pharmacy is going to work with insurance companies, improve efficiency. And the question is, what could possibly go wrong? That your pharmaceuticals are flying around, delivered by drones, but this is the new era we live in, and so I think this is part of the package where we're seeing pharmacies laying off, closing down, and everything's changing so quickly.
Speaking of technology and AI, and you mentioned Amazon delivering. Did you see the video over the weekend where Amazon has now set out into motion 6 feet tall robots in their plants? I mean, there's a lot of people that work in these big Amazon warehouses that package everything and get them ready to go out in delivery trucks. And now those people could be out of jobs because they're going to be replaced by 6 foot tall robots that can do all of it for free.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah. I mean, this is jobs. We feared it during the pandemic.
Yep.
And all this technology is coming out.
Which,
you're right.
Which I'm not sure people have thought this through, because you can replace humans all you want, but humans, you pay them and they pump money back into the economy because we get paid to do things and then we go out and buy things. Robots aren't going to buy anything. I'm not sure people have thought this all the way through.
Number two, if we look at number two in the big three, interest rates. Now we're at a new high. So interest rates are continuing to climb, just as, the holiday shopping season is approaching very soon, making it more costly for shoppers who plan to, of course, maybe use your store credit card. So are you ready for the average credit card annual percentage rate? It's at a new record high.
Can I guess? 28.5%.
You're close. It's 28.93%.
Wow.
It's almost 29%.
It's 30%.
Holy moly.
Uh-huh.
And so we've never seen it this high.
Yep.
So it's a new record, not in a good way. 16 retail credit cards charge 32.25% to all cardholders who carry balances, and that is Jared, K Jewelers, Zales, as well as QVC, Walgreens, Ross, Victoria's Secret, TJ Maxx, and Wayfair. 32.25%.
I'll tell you, once I get my credit card paid off, which at this rate will be 2053, I will never use a credit card again where I don't pay it off in full when the statement comes.
Yeah.
I will not. I mean, these companies are just gouging us.
They're making them bucks, right?
Yeah.
Well, we are sponsored by American Heritage Credit Union. American Heritage Credit Union, the place for first-time home buyers with in-house realtors, $500 lender credit for new homeowners. Visit AmericanHeritageCU.org/FTH for all the details. Loans subject to credit approval. Insured by NCUA, Equal Housing Lender, NMLS 433838. Number three in the big three. The stage is set for our Philadelphia Phillies to claim yet another legendary victory. Oh, this night is, we hope that we make Philadelphia sports history. On this day last year, Bryce Harper hit that game-winning home run. It was Game 5, the NLCS, earning the team, obviously, the NL championship title, a spot in the World Series for the first time since 2009. And so I get chill bumps as I'm saying this, as the Phils have the chance to repeat that epic win, taking on the Diamondbacks at Citizens Bank. Come on, fans. We want it louder than, what was it, 100 million decibels or whatever it was?
It was the equivalent of a jet taking off for flight.
We need 2 jets.
Yes. By the way, Jim Kenney's got to be greasing up the polls tonight, I would assume.
And that was the next thing. Was that Philadelphia police actually are working 12-hour shifts, greasing up the polls, getting ready as we take home the win. But that means longer shifts and more work, which is why we always say we want to thank our police for protecting and serving. But 1:30 or 10 o'clock this morning, New Era Phillies team store opening until 1:30. So 10 a.m. to 1:30. Then at 2 p.m., Phillies postseason block party right there on Citizens Bank Way. So you don't have to have a ticket. 2:37, all gates open. 4:40 on-field festivities, including first ceremonial pitch by 1980 World Series champ Larry Bowa, national anthem by Jenna Pastuzik, and then 5:07 p.m. Phillies v. the Diamondbacks. First pitch. Seventh inning, God Bless America, performed by trumpeter Jonathan Packard, captain for the Delaware State Police. So we want to give him a shout out as well. Wow.
Very cool.
It's so exciting. So if you want to skimp on your nap, you could head over right after Kayal & Company. You could scooch over because the store opens right at 10.
Mm-hmm. Skip a nap?
You could just like shave off a little bit off the nap time.
Yeah.
He was up late last night watching
that's true.
The Eagles.
And I'll be up again late tonight. Hey, I'm not going to get called back up till about Wednesday.
Yeah. By the way,
Tony will be here.
By the way, a listener pointed out to me in that Taylor Swift video we played. You know who was standing behind her?
Who?
Jackson Mahomes.
Oh yeah, that's Patrick's son, brother.
Who was charged in May with 3 felony counts of aggravated sexual battery.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, good company to be in.
So, Miss Swift.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, come on.
Empowerment to women.
Uh-huh.
I mean, she's BFFs with Mahomes' wife.
I know.
She can't control who's in the box.
Yeah, but she was doing the same handshake with him.
Why?
I'm just saying.
We can control who's in box 4
Bill,
on the YouTube chat.
Bill and Voorhees, thank you for pointing that out to me, sir. I did not notice that.
Yeah. I tell you, if I'm Patrick Mahomes, who's, one of the baddest men on the planet, so to speak, I mean, I've got his wife is always making noise. His little brother's a little punk. Now I've got Travis Kelce dating. Like, if I'm Patrick Mahomes, I'm about to have a conference room meeting. I need everybody to just lay low. All right, I'm trying to win a Super Bowl here. Enough of all the attention.
Yeah.
God. That's just me, though. Yeah. I'm sorry, Dawn.
Nope, that's your big 3.
Okay.
Kayal & Company.
There you go, 8:55. We'll come back, kick off the final hour of the show. We've got the morning mystery movie clip at 9:20, part 2 of the cut sheet, and also a couple of stories with woke corporations and some of the boycotts that are going on, including what the left attempted to do over the weekend with the Air Force Academy, and the Air Force Academy would have no parts of it. We'll get to that as we continue. 9 o'clock hours next on Talk Radio 1210 WPHT.
Jump into the NBA action with FanDuel in partnership with the Valley Forge Casino. It's America's #1 sports book. I love the FanDuel app. Right now, new customers can bet $5 and get $200 in bonus bets guaranteed. Plus, all customers get 3 months of NBA League Pass courtesy of FanDuel when they place a $5 bet on the NBA. So place a $5 bet on your Philadelphia 76ers. You'll get $200 in bonus bets guaranteed and 3 months of the NBA League Pass. What are you waiting for? You can bet on everything from player props to point spreads, and best of all, when you win, you get paid your winnings instantly. Just visit FanDuel.com/Greg, FanDuel.com/Greg, and tip off the NBA season right. FanDuel Sportsbook is the official partner of 1210 WPHT, and he's the official partner of the NBA. 21 and over, President PA. New customer offer. First online real money wager only. Refund issued as non-withdrawable bonus bets that expire in 7 days. All customer offer. $5 NBA wager required. Limit 1 pass per customer. Restrictions apply. Void where prohibited. See full terms for both offers at FanDuel.com/sportsbook. Gambling problem, call 1-800-GAMBLER. NBA League Pass. Local blackout restrictions apply.
The future of joint pain relief is right here in the Philadelphia region. QC Kinetics, advanced regenerative medicine. Hey, Dawn Stensland here. If you've been told that more steroids or surgery are your only options, not so fast. Get a second opinion. Learn more about how you can harness your body's own healing agents to attack that joint pain. QC Kinetics does not mask the pain. These treatments go to the very core of the problem, using concentrated healing properties placed directly into your joint, which repairs and restores that damaged tissue. Imagine living life, especially this fall, with no more pain in your knees, your aching shoulder, your back, your hips. No drugs, no surgery, no downtime. Just call the local medical professionals, get a free consultation. QC Kinetics, the nation's leader in regenerative medicine. 215-999-3000. Just call QC Kinetics, 215-999-3000. Tell them Dawn sent you.
You get up every morning and make it all work. You make the hospitals and the labs work. You keep the shelves stocked, the cash registers ringing, the production lines producing. At Vestas, we have the uniforms and workplace supplies you need to do what you do every day. When you think uniforms, floor mats, first aid kits, restroom supplies, think Vestas. Vestas, uniforms and workplace supplies for the people who make it all work. Learn more at Vestas.com.
It was the day we all feared. The stock market went down and then kept going.
2008, when the markets lost over 50% of their value. But that was over a decade ago. Today, it's not so painful. Jim Cipriotti at Retire Ready Financial Group calls that financial amnesia. When you forget the pain of losing half your savings, and more importantly, ignore the fact that it can happen again. A complimentary consultation from Retire Ready Financial Group can show you where you stand now before the next market pullback. You're much closer to retirement than you were in 2008. Don't let it happen again. Call Jim Cipriotti at 610-894-7415 for a complimentary consultation. That's 610-894-7415 or online at retirereadyfg.com. You can forget where you put your keys, your glasses, or even your car. Don't forget to protect your retirement.
Investment advisory services offered through Retire Ready Wealth Management, a registered investment advisor. Insurance and annuities offered through James V. Cipriotti, NPN number 2083768.
Millions of Americans are losing their medical assistance or Medicaid coverage. If this affects you, Independence Blue Cross can help. You may be eligible to enroll in a health plan for as little as $0 a month. With Independence Blue Cross, you get the largest provider network in the area, including most Keystone First doctors and hospitals. We also offer free 24/7 telemedicine, coverage for hospital stays and prescriptions. See if you qualify for $0 health insurance and enroll today. Call Independence Blue Cross at 1-844-464-2583 or visit ibx.com/staycovered.
As a mom, comforting my family is what I do best. Vicks Vapor Stick provides soothing, non-medicated Vicks vapors in an easy-to-apply stick. And it dries fast, so there's no mess. I use it to comfort myself and my family.
Thanks, Mom.
Vicks VapoStick, soothing comfort for the whole family. And when you need more comfort for yourself, try Vicks Vapo Shower for steamy Vicks vapors. Use as directed. VapoStick for use ages 4 and up. Vapo Shower use for adults only.
WPHT, WPHT-HD, WOGL HD3 Philadelphia. From the Cherry Hill Volvo Studios, where relationships matter. Always live on the free Odyssey app.
If you have Medicare plan questions and are turning 65 and getting inundated by mail and phone calls, learn the A, B, C, and D's of Medicare. Let the Senior Store answer all of your questions. Get your free evaluation today by visiting the Enrollment Center. Call a local Senior Store licensed agent at 877-YOU-LEARN-65 or by setting up an in-home visit. That's 877-YOU-LEARN-65 or visit theseniorstore.com. Enrollment starts October 15th. Not affiliated with the U.S. government or federal Medicare program.
Gillette Intimate gives guys a gentle and easy shave. Don't treat yourself like junk. Respect it with Gillette Intimate, the best a man can get. Buy now at a retailer near you.
40 days up to 40 pounds. Say it with me, 40 days up to 40 pounds. Visit NJDiet.com or call 855-5NJ-DIET. That's 855-5NJ-DIET. 40 days up to 40 pounds. 40 days up to 40 pounds.
Hey, Paoli, we know your favorite station is Talk Radio 1210 WPHT. Always live on the free Odyssey app.
All right, Kayal Company, 9:02. It's a Monday morning. Looks like another beautiful day. 60s and 70s all week. Yeah. Kayal Company rolling on 855-839-1210. Get us on the free Odyssey app. Watch us live on YouTube. Morning mystery movie clip in about 17 minutes. Cut sheet part due. And then also at the bottom of the hour, you might recall during the pandemic, CNN had Dr. Sanjay Gupta. He was plastered all over the TV. I mean, if you think Vivek Ramaswamy loves himself some TV camera time, you haven't seen anything until you've seen Sanjay Gupta during the pandemic. But apparently he says something that I think will validate a belief I've had for a long time. It's maybe the first time me and Sanjay Gupta and I should say, have actually agreed on one story. So we will get to that coming up at the bottom of the hour before the cut sheet part due. But a couple of things I want to point out here. from the weekend when it comes to, and I thought Bill Maher, and I gave you a little bit of Bill Maher on the Big Take this morning. If you missed the Big Take, it was talking about the right to free speech, the First Amendment, how Joe Biden and his administration are now going to the Supreme Court in Biden v. Missouri with the censoring of Americans during the pandemic on social media. And then on the flip side of things, Donald Trump being silenced and suppressed and his free speech rights when it comes to all of his court cases. So we kind of compared those two different ways a current president and a former president are operating. And I tied in a little bit of Bill Maher with how Harvard University is the least likely institution in America to value free speech. And I'll give you a little bit more of Bill Maher. You'll hear from him in just a few moments when it comes to colleges, because this first story originated from college. And I'm not sure if anybody actually was paying attention to this on Saturday. There was a lot of great college football games, and Air Force and I forget who it was, another academy. It wasn't Navy, but they had a college football game. And earlier this year, I think it was Labor Day weekend, the Air Force Academy football team rolled out a uniform that was a tribute and a homage to Pearl Harbor and those that lost their lives on December 7th, 1941. And I'll give you the backstory as to what the uniforms and what the meaning behind them is in a second. But the left lost their mind over the uniforms back in week one of the college football season, Labor Day weekend. And Air Force, and this is the lesson to be learned here, when the left gets outraged and wants to cancel something, you stand up and fight back and push back and shove it down their throat. So that's what Air Force did this past weekend as they rolled out their uniforms. So it was against Navy this past weekend. And the uniforms are symbolic because it goes back to when Japan bombed Pearl Harbor on December 7th, 1941, and killed thousands of people. And this is the Doolittle raid. If you've ever, watched a movie on it, or you learned in history class about the Doolittle raid. So just a little backstory on this. The surprise attack that obviously drew America into World War II. And then you had 16 B-25 bombers, which were launched to strike Tokyo. 7 men paid the ultimate price on the raid, including 3 that were executed by the Japanese. Other crew members fled into hiding after crashing their bombers. The 1942 operation, while limited in scope, showed the Japanese that the United States was already back on its feet and willing to fight. That's what Air Force was honoring this past Saturday, and also in week one on Labor Day when they took on Navy. And if people want to kick and scream about America dropping bombs on Japan in World War II, well, the Air Force Academy basically said you can throw all the temper tantrums that you want, but this is about fighting for America. So it's very interesting when we talk about college kids and young people and Gen Z. So they are they're outraged over America bombing Japan. They're outraged over Israel fighting back against Hamas. They are very pro-Palestinian, pro-Gaza in their cause, and they were triggered by this over the weekend, to which I say, good, go pound sand. I love watching the military academies play football, and when they wear uniforms that are honoring those lost in battle, so slapnuts on social media can post their ridiculous opinions like the Gen Z loves to do. That's what they're fighting for. So I'm glad that Air Force did not back down to the woke mob and the outrage from the first time they rolled these uniforms out, and they brought them back a second time, which leads me to Bill Maher. And look, I don't think that most of us agree with Bill Maher on a lot of politics, but one thing that Bill Maher is very much against, he's very much against cancel culture. He believes in free speech, and he knows that today's youths in college are a bunch of uneducated snowflakes. I want to play this for you. This is Bill Maher mocking Ivy League schools for their indoctrination and how stupid they have looked with a lot of their anti-Israel hate. Take a listen. Here's Bill from Real Time on Friday night on HBO.
And finally, new rule: as an Ivy League graduate who knows the value of a liberal education, I have one piece of advice for the youth of America. Don't go to college. And if you absolutely have to go, don't go to an elite college, because as recent events have shown, it just makes you stupid. There are few, if any, positives to come out of what happened in Israel, but one of them is opening America's eyes to how higher education has become indoctrination into a stew of bad ideas, among them the simplistic notion that the world is a binary place where everyone is either an oppressor or oppressed. In the case of Israel, oppressors being babies and bubbas. The same students who will tell you that words are violence and silence is violence were very supportive when Hamas terrorists went on a rape and murder rampage worthy of the Vikings. They knew where to point the fingers at the murdered, and then it was off to ethics class. Now,
a little hesitant.
Now, I recognize that a certain amount of foolishness is expected of college kids, but mixing Jägermeister and tomato juice isn't the same as siding with terrorists. 34 student groups at Harvard signed a letter that said the apartheid regime is the only one to blame, proving they don't know what constitutes apartheid. They don't know much of anything, actually. But it doesn't deter them from having an opinion. They've convinced themselves Israel is the most repressive regime in history because they have no knowledge of history, or even a desire to know it. And actual history doesn't come up in their intersectionality of politics and genderqueer identities class. Now, to be fair, at least 5 of the student groups have rescinded what they signed, saying they didn't read the letter closely. And they promised not to make that mistake again after they graduate and start running the world.
So, there's a lot of things I disagree with Bill Maher on, but I tell you what, when you have somebody that is as liberal as he is in an old school classic kind of way, coming out and saying colleges are now about indoctrination, that's not coming from Tucker Carlson. That's not coming from Nick Kayal. That's not coming from anybody on the other side of the political spectrum, so to speak. That's coming from a guy who's very left on a lot of issues, and he is now pointing out just the absurd nature and the absurd world we are living in with colleges, where they basically create this mentality. You are either the oppressor or the oppressed. You are either the victim or you're the one doing the victimizations and the victimizing. And we live in a world where the left is more bothered by words than they are actions. I would like to think that, and I don't think, you're never going to change colleges and universities. If anything, it's gone further and further left, as we have seen in recent weeks with the anti-Israel rhetoric. But I would like to think that maybe there is going to be a point where when we look at a lot of these, and let's even localize it. Let's bring it back to, school boards, Bucks County, Moms for Liberty. When these individuals go to these school board meetings, or the Meg Brocks of the world post on Twitter that they're indoctrinating our students, you have a lot of people that are against that disagree with Meg Brock and say, oh, it's just a right-wing talking point. Well, is it a right-wing talking point when Bill Maher says it? Because I would argue that that is not the case at all. That I think most parents, and hopefully more and more, will push back against this. And I'm not talking about not sending your kid to Harvard, because odds are you can't afford it anyway. I'm not talking about not sending your kids to college specifically, because yes, while trade schools are great and community college offers great value, and going into the workforce is still an interesting thing at 18, and you can work your way up and get a high-paying job. I mean, there's no shortcut to being a doctor. There's no shortcut to being a lawyer. If you want to be a school teacher, odds are you have to, some of these professions, there's no way of avoiding college, right? That's the path you have to take if you want to get the job that you want to get one day. But I'd like to think we're getting at a point as the Biden administration winds down their first term, and hopefully their only term, that maybe this indoctrination concept will stop being labeled right-wing and be branded as just pro-common sense, pro-parent, hey, let's teach our children what they need to be taught, that our tax dollars are going for. And I think Bill Maher is also in agreement with many of us that, there's only 2 genders. There's not 12 genders. You can't be something that, there's no outcome for surgically when the doctors do reassignment surgery. You know, I love how there's 12 genders, but when you're a guy and you go to the doctor and say, make me a girl, the doctor says, well, there's only one of two things you can be. So I thought that was worth sharing because I just love seeing how triggered some of these youngsters are on the left, especially like Saturday morning. I'm sitting there, I'm drinking a cup of coffee, I'm putting my bets in for college football, and I see this story about how triggered they were over Air Force wearing uniforms that honored an operation, a counterattack, a response by the American military. So, you know, if you think about it, you bring this back full circle here to Israel and Hamas, and we're talking about ceasefires. So then you, the individual out there that was triggered over the Air Force jerseys, you were saying basically there should be a ceasefire. America shouldn't have responded. After Japan drops a bomb on us, we shouldn't respond. And then we shouldn't honor those that risk their lives responding by way of a silly jersey in football. And I tweeted out the picture of the jersey over the weekend. If you didn't know the backstory to the jersey, you would have no idea. You'd be like, well, what's the big deal? Why is everybody up in a fuss about this? So I figured that was something we could throw out for a couple of minutes here because I'm hoping we're getting to the point where the pendulum starts to swing back. And I think to some extent we have seen that, and it is swinging back towards the middle and a more rational, sound, logical place. But there's always going to be that vocal minority, right? Like the 16% that are still not pro-Israel in their support for the Middle East conflict, or there's always going to be those loud vocal minority squad Dem members like the Ilhan Omars and many on the far left. And I'm talking about the radical progressive fringe element that has hijacked the Democrat Party. There's always going to be that group that continues to play the oppressor and oppressed card, which is so exhausting and fatiguing at this point. But I'd like to think that we're slowly kind of chopping away and chiseling away at that absurd stuff that has really ran rampant the last 3.5 years, but to be honest, has been going on for much longer than that. 855-839-1210 is the number if you want to jump in. And then at the bottom of the hour, actually, you know what? Can I get to this now? Because I know we have a lot of cut sheet material, and we're probably going to get to that for part 2 coming up in a little bit. Let me just say this. This is a great story. I was going to save this for 9:30, but we got about 3 or 4 minutes here. So during the pandemic, I told you, Sanjay Gupta from CNN, he was all over the TV. He was not an infectious disease doctor. I actually think he's a neurosurgeon, and he's done surgical procedures for people with their back as well. Somehow he became like CNN's doctor of choice on TV when they weren't trotting out Tony Fauci all the time. But he is apparently, according to the Wall Street Journal, which is certainly not a left-leaning publication, the most famous neurosurgeon in the country. And Dr. Sanjay Gupta has said, you absolutely will benefit from taking, not the COVID vaccine, not the booster, from taking a nap. As somebody, I mean, I can't believe I'm saying this today. I have been on the same page today with Sanjay Gupta and Jake Tapper. I don't know what that says about me, or occasionally these people will see the light of day and realize that people like Nick Kayal know what they're talking about. But Dr. Sanjay Gupta thinks that you should take a nap. And I bring this up because Dawn brought up taking a nap earlier today on the show when we were talking about the Phillies and the late games and, you know, the late game for the Eagles last night. But he has now arrived at the conclusion that it's not a myth and that taking a nap every single day can be beneficial to you. And he goes on to say that anywhere in the range of 30 to 75 minutes is something that you should absolutely work into your weekly routine, because it helps you relieve stress, be more, quote, at your peak optimal performance in long days, in day and age where many Americans have a second or a third job. Now, I will say this. I have tried the 30-minute nap, and there's no way you can really do that. Because, I mean, if you're not setting your alarm, I mean, again, like it takes most people, 10, 15, 20 minutes to fall asleep. And then how do you wake yourself up naturally, organically, without an alarm, your body clock, the whole bit? Like, I think I could actually get up at 4:15 each day now without an alarm. My body's just ready to go after being asleep for 6 or 7 hours. But I actually think, and this is where I push back on the science, I don't think 60 or 90 minutes is a bad thing. Very beneficial. 2 hours is too much. Occasionally I grab one for 2 hours, and I am groggy as hell when I get up. Like, I could drink an 8-ounce Red Bull and still be a little foggy. I'm like Joe Biden if I go 2-hour nap. But 60, 75, 90 minutes, the ideal time. So let me ask you this. And I know, Dawn, you have a very busy life. You've got kids, you got the husband, the whole bit. When's the last time you actually took a nap?
I don't know.
Greg, when's the last time you took a nap?
I can't.
Have you taken a nap when Dylan's gone down?
I don't have time for a nap.
Not even on the weekend? You don't grab like a 75-minute snoozer?
Nope.
Really?
I do it. Every once in a while, every once in a blue moon, I'll have, there'll be a day where I just can't, I need to completely decompress. So I'll just kind of, it's not really a nap. I just kind of sit in the dark for 35 minutes and kind of just look up at the ceiling. So it's not really a way to, I don't shut my eyes I do shut my eyes, but I don't fall asleep. I just need silence because there's just a lot of talking that goes on throughout my life.
Yeah,
and
of course.
Just need,
you work in talk radio.
Exactly. Whether it's this job, whether it's the job I have after I get off the air at 10 o'clock, I just need silence for,
silence.
40 minutes or so. So every once in a while, I will just I call it meditating, but it's really just me kind of just, in silence in the dark.
All right. Sanjay Gupta says researchers make the case that people who nap regularly and had a specific length of nap had increased brain volume. So I guess the amount of information you're capable of carrying around with you versus those who did not nap regularly. And this was regardless of how much you slept at night. Now, we don't know what that increased brain volume really means tangibly. The best benefit of taking a nap is that for a period of time, you're not stressed the same way that you are most of the rest of the day. Stress in and of itself is not a problem. It's the relentless nature of stress. Naps, as it turns out, are a really good way to get a reliable break. So if you can't actually nap and then get back up and see, that's the thing. I think the nap is what gets me to 9:30, 10 o'clock at night, most nights. If we're watching a Phillies playoff game or an Eagles Monday night, Sunday night game, if that's a work day and I don't get the nap, I'm telling you, by 6:30, 7 o'clock, it's not that I can't function. I'm just a miserable human being. So I learned quickly when I first started doing mornings in Nashville in 2018 that if I was going to be remotely pleasant to be in front of my daughters and my wife after they get off to school, because I've been going for 4 hours longer than they've been up, I need that nap or else I'm going to be short fused and have a short temper, and I don't want to be like that. So that's the nap story for you. Dr. Sanjay Gupta.
I think Greg is right that I would say, even though I'm not a napper per se, to me, I have to go. For me, it's getting outside, no matter what the weather's like, and just I take Buddy out, a little walk in the Wissahickon or even in the backyard.
Sure.
And kind of, to Greg's point, just kind of zone out. You know what I mean? Just listen to the trees and the nature and the birds.
Yeah. Well, that's good for you, too. I'm just picturing Greg sitting there on his bed in the pitch dark, just staring up at the ceiling saying, God help me, what am I doing?
What have I done with my life?
Gmail on the YouTube chat says studies have shown that long naps during the day are more likely to have diabetes, heart disease, and depression.
Okay, well, I've got 2 of those 3. There's no doubt about it. I'm probably going to end up having a heart issue. It's hereditary.
Oh, boy.
And same with diabetes. Depression, not so much. I'm a very happy person. But
I think if you tried a 10 to 15-minute nap, Nick, you would find that power nap is more effective than the 60 to 90 minutes.
It probably is. I just don't know how you execute it. So, if I go down for my nap at 12 o'clock and I set my alarm for 12:17 or 12:28, I just feel like I'm automatically. It's like when you have to wake up and you're counting down the minutes to the alarm going off, and you have to get out of bed and you just can't shut your brain off. I just set it for 90 minutes, and usually I wake up at 75 minutes, and I just get up and get going again, turn the alarm off, grab a Celsius or whatever, and then start preparing for the next show.
What's a Celsius?
It's a healthier Red Bull. It's a Red Bull with no sugar, basically.
Oh,
God's sake!
Yeah, it's more of it's not organic by any stretch. It's just a better.
I'm gonna come over your house and we're gonna sit down, you and I, and I'm just gonna go through your fridge.
Stare in the dark together.
I'm gonna go in your fridge and I'm gonna say this. All right, this needs to go.
Very healthy fridge. I have a very healthy fridge.
Yeah.
All I hear,
other than energy drink and alcohol,
but that's all I hear from you is energy drink and alcohol and Pizza Fridays.
Well, it's part of the brand. I mean, what? Me eating a turkey and cheese on whole wheat with avocado, which I do 3 or 4 times a week, or having some sushi.
That's good for you.
Grilled chicken, grilled fish. I eat clean 5 out of 5 or 6 days a week.
It's just those aren't the things you choose to discuss.
Well, yeah,
is basically what you're
yeah.
telling
The audience isn't going to respond to that. They want to hear me talking about booze and pizza.
People don't understand though how god awful it is getting up at the hours that we.
Yeah, I don't mind. I don't mind
it, but it's not normal.
No,
the body is not meant to get up when we get up.
No,
we essentially get up in the middle of the night.
The only time I hate it is in February. Well, I mean, when it is dark, it's cold, it's gray, there's rock salt on the road. That's when I want to put a gun in my mouth. But other than that, I like getting up early. All right, 9:22. Let's get to our morning mystery movie clip.
And now, the morning mystery movie clip on Kayal and Company. Talk Radio 1210 WPHT.
You know the best part? I can get over it because I am a Red Sox fan. I mean, I'm tough. I've been through a lot in this park, man. I can take this because I am bulletproof.
Think you know what it is? Be call at 12 at 855-839-1210, and you could win this great prize.
Oh, yeah, how about this? A 4-pack of tickets to the Battleship New Jersey in Camden, New Jersey. If you are caller 12 right now, 855-839-1210. Little baseball tie-in with that movie. Little hint for you, caller 12. 855-839-1210. 4-pack of tickets to the Battleship New Jersey in Camden, New Jersey. If you can identify that movie clip, we'll come back, get our winner, get to part 2 of the cut sheet. All still on the way. And by the way, we got to make a Phillies prediction today, as I'll lose more money. It's either Greg or Dawn. But that's fine. We're back after this here on Kayal and Company. Stay right there.
Hi, it's John DeMasi, host of Health Watch, Sunday mornings at 8 and again at 4 here on Talk Radio 1210. If you or someone you know has been diagnosed with cancer or undergoing treatments that cause severe fatigue or brain fog, medical hydration may be right for you. Dr. Molly Fantasia of Innovative Medical Associates has more than 30 years experience in helping cancer patients to improve their quality of life.
We believe in medical hydration. We've improved it so much that we are able to help people across the board with challenges before they become chronic.
Nutrients delivered right to the cells support your immune system through surgery, chemotherapy, or wherever you may be on your cancer journey. Visit innovativemedicalassociates.com to schedule a free consultation with Dr. Molly in their Marlton, New Jersey office. And join us on Sunday mornings at 8 and again at 4 for Health Watch to learn more about the benefits of medical hydration for cancer, autoimmune diseases, and more.
Hey, this is Norman Chaikin, also known as Norman the Floorman. I just paid $100 for a belt. It doesn't fit. What a huge waste. Calling all developers, investors, house flippers, and savvy shoppers. I'm selling plush carpet at 99 cents per square foot. I haven't sold carpet that cheap since 1969. Visit us online at normancarpet.net or visit our Bryn Mawr or Conshohocken showroom. Call for a free home estimate and, oh yes, 48-hour installation available. That's 800-220-RUGS.
Hi, this is Dr. Brad Schaefer. As a podiatrist, I can tell you no two people's feet are alike, which is why I recommend Dr. Scholl's custom fit orthotic inserts. They're customized for your feet, so you get a unique solution your feet really need, not just a one-size-fits-all insole. They're clinically proven to provide pain relief for achy feet, knees, lower back, plantar fasciitis, and heels. Take the Dr. Scholl's custom fit orthotics assessment in Walmart today. Now in the foot care aisle.
There are so many discounts and offers at Cherry Hill Volvo. This 30-second spot is not enough time to share all the benefits of purchasing or leasing a new Volvo from Cherry Hill Volvo. Discounts and incentives for this month start at $5,000 and can be as high as $11,000. Purchase or lease a new Volvo from Cherry Hill Volvo now and take advantage of these fabulous discounts and offers. Visit us soon for the best selection of Volvos. The entire Cherry Hill Volvo team is waiting to partner with you.
Join us at Odyssey as we all do our one thing. Together millions of things for our planet. Now that it's autumn, check window and door seals for proper insulation and replace your furnace air filter. When we each share our one thing, it becomes a million things for our planet. What's your one thing?
Jesse Kelly here. Do you feel protected? My personal protection plan is owning gold. The Oxford Gold Group helps you buy gold to have on hand or convert it into your 401k. If things get weird, I have gold on hand. I like that. You can buy coins or convert part of your 401k with the Oxford Gold Group. It's easy and safe. 833-995-GOLD. That's 833-995-GOLD. 833-995-GOLD.
This is Scott Trout of Cordell & Cordell. If you're a dad who is facing divorce, there are extra layers of stress that may include stereotypes and assumptions. No two situations are the same. Our legal experience and dedication prepare us for whatever legal challenges we face together. For more than 30 years, Cordell & Cordell has represented men in divorce.
Offices in Philadelphia, Radnor, and Allentown, Pennsylvania, and Mount Laurel, New Jersey. Scott Trout, licensed in Missouri, Illinois, and Georgia only. Michelle Ferreri, licensed in New Jersey and Pennsylvania. Online at CordellCordell.com.
Hey, it's Rich Zioli. When it comes to all your home improvement needs, trust is everything. And that's why for years, I've been talking about the amazing work my friends Stephanie and Matt and the entire team at Emmons has done for me and my home. My roof, doors, windows, siding, and yes, remodeling projects. Emmons can bring that same quality of work to all of your kitchen and bathroom remodeling needs. Roofing, siding, windows, doors, and now baths and kitchens. Emmons is the Delaware Valley's one-stop shop for all of your home improvement needs. Call 856-556-3229 and get a free estimate, or go online to emmonsroofing.com, or even better, come visit the Emmons Design Showroom in Cherry Hill. emmonsroofing.com. It's about trust, it's about quality, it's about great work, and that's why me and my family have used them for basically every project we've done to improve our home. emmonsroofing.com.
The Dudad Dental Group is excited to begin their third season as the official dentist of the Philadelphia Eagles. You can trust the team at Dudad Dental Group to provide the most advanced and compassionate care. From Lehigh Valley to Center City, Dudad has a location near you that takes all major insurances. If it's time for your routine cleaning, or you're considering dental implants, or something in between, make the Dudad Dental Group your pick. Smile like the birds. Visit PhiladelphiaEaglesDentist.com.
Follow Talk Radio 1210 on Instagram and Facebook at 1210 WPHT.
.931, Kayal and Company, Monday morning. Nick, Dawn, and Greg. Talk Radio 1210 WPHT. Get us on the free Odyssey app. Watch us live on YouTube. YouTube.com/@1210 WPHT. Hit the like and subscribe buttons. Cut sheet part 2 in about 6 minutes. Also, this story that I want to challenge the way people spend money on their workday, because I think this number is a little bit too high. So we'll get to that in just a moment.
What do you mean spend money on their workday?
Well, report finds employees are spending about $51 a day working at the office. I'm going to try to shave some dollars off of this total.
$51 a day?
Yeah. It sounds a little high to me.
Wow.
I think people are a little too loose with their money, but we'll get to that in a moment.
Okay.
Brian is in West Berlin. He's our morning mystery movie clip winner. Brian, good morning. What movie clip did we play for you about 5 minutes ago, buddy?
Good morning. It was Fever Pitch.
Yeah,
Woo!
Fever Pitch. Woo! Little baseball action.
Fever Pitch.
There you go, Brian. Congratulations.
See? Thank you, Brian. Look at him.
You got it, man. We got the Phillies on tonight, and we're going to win it.
Wow,
how about that?
Look at that.
And you got yourself a 4-pack of tickets to the Battleship, New Jersey.
Awesome. Thank you very much.
You got it, Brian. Appreciate you playing.
See, we asked for some good reaction. We get it.
Yeah, I know.
like it.
Not somebody that comes on half dead,
Yeah.
sounding like Dorenzo on a Saturday morning.
Fever Pitch.
Fever Pitch.
You win tickets to see the Battleship to the Battleship New Jersey. Cool.
Thanks, bro.
Thanks, man.
Appreciate that,
That's
man.
Cool, man. Yeah, great.
by the way. Fever Pitch. Jimmy Fallon's in that, I believe.
And Drew Barrymore, right?
Yeah. I've got no. I don't like that movie one bit.
I mean, it's all about the Red Sox fandom. Who cares?
I know. And also the Sweet Caroline song at the baseball game,
hideous.
Little overrated in my opinion.
Hideous.
I would say what the Phillies do with Dancing on Our Own, much better.
Well, you sound like a homer now there, buddy.
Well, I am. I am. There's no doubt about it. And I hate the Red Sox. So this is staggering to me. Report finds that employees spend about $51 a day working at the office. The report found that employees working at the office pay about $51 a day on the following expenses: $14 to commute. So we're talking about your gas. I got that. No doubt about it. $8 for parking. $13 on breakfast and or coffee, and $16 on lunch. So I have no issue with the $14 for the commute. I get it. Gas is expensive, about $3.65 or so a gallon at my near Wawa in Bluebell. I get that. $8 for parking. Okay, I would argue that more people than not do not have to pay to park. Like, I mean, if you're a teacher, if you're a nurse, if you work at a dental office, I think most people, when they arrive at their job, unless they are in like a parking garage, that like here at Odyssey, we have a garage and some people actually have to pay, even though they come to work, they have to pay to park. I don't think that that's the majority of people, though. I think most people can park for free. Now, it might be a pain in the butt. You might have to find street parking. But I don't know that everybody is paying to park on a daily basis.
That's a great observation.
Is that, you think that's fair? Fair to say?
I think most people do not pay to park.
Okay,
yes.
I would agree with that. And then breakfast / coffee, $13, $16 a day at lunch. Here's the thing. Why are you, and look, I was guilty of this for a long time. Like when I was doing mornings in Nashville, there was a Starbucks that opened up at 4:30, and I would go through the drive-thru every morning. And then it finally just dawned on me in the last 2 years, like, I am not going to spend $5.25 a day for a cup of coffee. It's pure insanity.
Yeah.
So now I bring coffee from home. I get 2 jugs of this cold brew. I get a giant 246 ounce jugs for $10. I get about 6 days of work for $10 in coffee, as opposed to paying $5 a day. And then $16 for lunch. I think we've made it so convenient for people to order delivery with Uber Eats, DoorDash, all these other companies. And we just now live in a world where I think the phone, Apple Pay, the Apple Wallet.
It's just too easy.
We don't even realize that we're giving away our cash.
I agree with you.
So
I agree with you.
I think if you're spending $51 a day at work, you better be making $400 or $500 a day in salary to justify that, or you're just giving away your money.
Yeah.
But I think, aren't they figuring in commuters and tolls? Like a lot of people have moved out of, let's say, New York City.
Mm-hmm.
And so they now have to commute back in. The tolls, just the tolls,
which are outrageous,
in and out, are crazy.
Yes.
So tolls are very expensive.
Some things you can't avoid, right? Like you can't avoid the gas, you can't avoid the tolls. Really, I mean, yes, you could take the long road and go take the scenic back, but it's going to take you forever to get there. But like the breakfast, the lunch, and then I don't think most people pay to park. But like, stop spending all this money. Like, I know my buddy, he left working in retail and he now works for a payroll company. They have, all these, like, it's in a huge building. They have a catered breakfast downstairs. You still have to pay for it. Same thing with lunch. Like, whatever happened to the old adage of, just getting your breakfast, eating it in the car when you're driving to work from home, and then packing your lunch like kids do for school? Like $16 a day for lunch. Oh, I'm going to order Jimmy John's today. I'm going to go down to this local and grab a bagel, and then, it adds up. So,
I would agree with you that it is because everything's on our phone now. It is easier to just swipe something and be like, just do Apple Pay with this, and you know what I mean. And then you get the bill. You're like, what did I spend $51 a month or a day on? And it's.
I think you feel the pain more when you hand over actual cash.
I agree.
So.
Even with it started with the credit card, the debit card. Actually, you just debit everything.
Yep.
That's not actually physically giving away cash.
Mm-hmm.
And then you move to the phone,
Right.
which is way easier.
Yep.
You have no idea. Like, yeah, $10 here, $8 there, $9 there.
Yep.
And you don't even realize how much. Yeah, there is a benefit, I think, even though I like the being able to, the ease to just, buy something and have it at my house the next day, which is lovely. There is something about physically handing somebody cash where you're like, oh, how much did I spend on that?
Right.
Do I really need that?
Right. I mean, the average American makes $56,000 a year, if I recall correctly. That is just about like $27, $28 an hour. So you are basically, let's say you make $25 an hour. 2 of your 8 hours a day you have already spent if you're spending $51 a day. That's pre-tax before Uncle Sam gets his cut.
Yep.
No wonder why we're all broke.
I think, look, there's a push to make it a cashless society, and I think that's by design.
Of course.
Because they want people in debt and, in
and they want to track and trace everything.
Not knowing what you're spending on what.
That's
you
right.
know, like the government does that all the time. $100 billion here, $10 billion there.
Yep.
It's all meaningless because it's like this never-ending. It's like it's the Apple Pay of the government.
That's correct.
You know what I mean? So,
yes, indeed.
Yeah, I think there's something to paying cash for things, even though I never have cash or pay cash for anything. So.
I wasn't allowed cash for 20 years. Kristen just said business is it's a non-negotiable. There you go. All right, 9:39. Let's get to what's on the cut sheet, part 2.
What's on the cut sheet?
Part 2. What's on the cut sheet part 2 is sponsored by Consumer Cellular. Consumer Cellular offers the exact same nationwide 5G coverage as the major carriers, even in bumper-to-bumper traffic. Their 100% U.S.-based support is just a click or call away, plus activation is always free. Visit consumercellular.com to switch today. Thank you, Consumer Cellular, for sponsoring What's on the Cut Sheet Part 2. Last night on MSNBC, it was just a pure pro-Hamas show with Mehdi Hassan and AOC talking about war crimes are not an appropriate response for other war crimes. We're showing this false equivalence between what Israel is doing and what Hamas is doing.
Yeah.
They love to look both sides on this issue. Nothing else they do, but this one they love to.
Of course.
AOC from last night.
The asymmetry of what is going on, as well as the collective punishment of what is happening to the Palestinian people at this moment. Hamas has absolutely engaged in horrific attacks. And every single day, there are more details that are released about what occurred on October 7th that shocks the human consciousness and shocks our conscience, our collective conscience. However, we do know as well that war crimes do not constitute and are not an appropriate response for other war crimes. Hamas's hostage-taking, their hostage-taking of children, of the disabled, elderly, civilians, are a war crime. But when we are talking about the blockading of water, food, electricity to a population of 2.2 million Palestinians, when we are talking about dropping what we're seeing from Human Rights Watch, reports and confirmation from organizations like Amnesty International and Human Rights Watch, the dropping and deployment of white phosphorus, which is also a war crime. It is unacceptable to think that 1,700 Palestinian children alone, that their deaths will somehow make up for or justify the violence of what we saw.
So what should Israel do?
So AOC is basically saying, well, Hamas doesn't play by the rules, but we should not stoop to their level and disregard our rules. Again, AOC is probably one of the people that is outraged over the Air Force Academy wearing those football uniforms back from Pearl Harbor. Like, again, you can't negotiate with terrorists. You can't negotiate with crazy. And we played you that long extended clip where Trey Yingst said, it was so graphic it wasn't suitable for television based on what this captured Hamas terrorist said in an interrogation room to Israeli interrogators, where he basically said, yo, the rules are you don't kill children and women. But this time around, they said, have a blast. Do whatever the hell you want.
By the way, why are they withholding electricity and water and food there? Because they want them to leave. They're telling you, hey, guys, we're going to bomb the S out of this area. So you might want to leave. That's telling them to leave. That's not, you know what I mean?
You've been given ample warning.
They've been given warning. How much more can they do?
Yes. Anybody that's still around that ends up a casualty inadvertently, so to speak, like at this point, I would say it's on you. I mean, you had 2 weeks.
I'm going to continue a little bit more from this cut there, Natasha.
On October 7th. You know, here in Congress, every single year we pass a defense budget, and every single year we hear about the precision, the sophistication, the technological capacities to meet targets with such precise strikes. And yet what we are seeing unfold in Gaza is an indiscriminate bombing campaign. We are seeing the dropping of white phosphorus, an indiscriminate weapon. We are seeing civilian centers being bombed. We are seeing churches. We are seeing thousands upon thousands of people being killed by these strikes. And it occurs to me, and I think a question that we all must ask ourselves is, what price of innocent life is acceptable in terms of targeting Hamas? And are we even receiving? We are receiving daily counts every day by the number of innocent people that are dying. We are not seeing reports on how effective this has actually been in terms of dismantling Hamas. I think it's very important for us to raise that point. And I think it's also very important for us to understand that this is part of a larger intergenerational cycle of violence.
Look, I know where she's coming at this from. She's, you know, I don't want war. I don't want war. I don't want the U.S. to get involved in this. But there comes a point where you have to look at the Israelis and say, what are they supposed to do? They're damned if they do. They're damned if they don't.
Right. And again, this is, you know, we're not sitting here saying the U.S. should send troops, but Israel with their people there, go right back at them. Retaliate. They just killed 1,400 people. So MSNBC has actually fallen off in the ratings during this war coverage.
Yes.
We gave you the ratings. They're down about 33% because right there they are. That's the Hamas propaganda right there.
Exactly.
That's AOC. When you keep putting up squad Dems on TV, and oh, by the way, Mehdi Hassan has made his stance very clear on this issue. And there was another story. We never got to it last week, but the problem facing MSNBC is because you employ Mehdi Hassan, who's been very pro-Palestinian cause. And I think there might be another host or two on that network that is as well.
They sidelined them.
Yeah, they've kind of put themselves in a corner.
They took them off the air because the news coverage was way too, you know what I mean, like
slanted.
Yeah, so they took them off the air for a short time,
which really speaks volumes when MSNBC, which is known for extremely slanted coverage, says, "Well, maybe we should take somebody because you're a little bit too far."
Yeah, exactly.
So
exactly.
All right. That'll do it for part 2 of the cut sheet. We'll come back, wrap it up, find out what's on tap for the Dawn Show about 13 minutes out from now, and who won Twitter today, as well as our Phillies Game 6 prediction. Does anybody on the show actually have the nerve to take the Diamondbacks? I don't know that they do, but we'll find out. And we're back after this on Kayal and Company.
You're invited to witness a groundbreaking documentary, America's Retirement Dilemma, a documentary of Wall Street's rigged system, featuring powerful exclusive interviews such as the president and CEO of the leading analytics firm over Wall Street, Del Bar Incorporated, Lou Harvey, who explains why Wall Street is not set up to have a fiduciary duty to the everyday investor.
Wall Street is not set up to handle a fiduciary relationship. Too expensive to replace all of my compensation systems, retrain all of my people. The whole structure that's been built over the last 100 years would have to be turned on end. I would have to be brutally negative. We have an industry that has been built on caveat emptor, buyer beware.
Hear this and more exclusive interviews with powerful industry leaders, esteemed economists, and top researchers at the Springfield Country Club, October 24th. Registration is required. Call Crash Proof Retirement, 800-722-9728.
When you need to know, depend on KYW News Radio 103.9 FM.
Aid deliveries for Palestinian civilians have reportedly reached Gaza as the war enters day 16. The total death toll is over 6,000. The Eagles improved to 6-1 after beating the Dolphins last night 31-17. And the Phillies can clinch the pennant tonight at CBP. Aaron Nola toes the rubber at 5:07.
Get the latest anytime on KYW News Radio. Now on Crystal Clear 103.9 FM.
You've never needed us more.
Jalen Hurst here with Harley from Window Nation.
Jalen, don't you love the home field advantage?
Absolutely. Do you?
I love that in the home improvement field, Window Nation gives you a big advantage.
Like what?
Custom-made, energy-efficient windows with tons of options, expertly installed and backed by the best customer service team anywhere.
So that means lower energy bills, higher home value, and peace of mind?
And savings, Jalen. So buy 2 windows and get 2 free plus no interest for 2 whole years.
Get the Window Nation advantage for your home. Call 866-90-NATION or visit windownation.com.
I'm Tony Kornheiser, and this is my show. What, you expecting something different? Whether you're looking for deep, insightful dives into the day's top sports stories, that's why we have guests, right, Nigel? Or simply how to get change for 100, you'll find it on the Tony Kornheiser Show. From football picks, from the best prognosticators in the business, including a monkey, to real-time baseball playoff analysis, to traffic in an area where you don't live. We got you covered. My friends come on, and you know them. Listen on the Odyssey app or wherever you get your podcasts.
Hi, this is Dom Giordano. If your child needs support, special tutoring, and custom instruction, METC is here to help. Now's the time to call to Kathy Gannon, METC. Call the Motivational Educational Tutoring Company for over 30 years. METC's tutoring studio, founded by educator Kathy Gannon, has helped people of all ages to grow personally and academically. Call Kathy at 215-493-4200. METC offers motivational SAT prep as well as academic skills and leadership training. 215-493-4200. Now's the time to get assistance. For your child to help them succeed, all you have to do is visit online at METC.com. METC's tutoring studio. Call them today, 215-493-4200, or email Kathy directly, info@METC.com. Remember, 1210 listeners receive a free 1-hour consultation. Take advantage of this opportunity to help your child get one-on-one help. 215-493-4200, 215-493-4200.
Urgent Camp Lejeune settlement message. On September 6th, the government announced it will soon begin providing fast, guaranteed settlements to Camp Lejeune Marines, families, and civilians. Awards will range between $100,000 and $550,000, with an option for higher amounts. If you or a loved one spent time at Camp Lejeune and suffered cancers of the bladder, liver, or kidneys, leukemia, non-Hodgkin's lymphoma, Parkinson's, or kidney issues, you may qualify for compensation and could be paid within 60 days after accepting your settlement, with your VA benefits fully protected. You may be entitled to a significant financial award for your Camp Lejeune claim, but you must act now. Call the James Harris Law Camp Lejeune helpline now to get the compensation you deserve. We're already fighting for thousands harmed by the water at Camp Lejeune. Call now or you may forever lose your right to be awarded a settlement between $100,000 and $550,000. For your free evaluation, call 800-217-1155. That's 800-217-1155. 800-217-1155.
Calling on Blackwood to follow 1210 WPHT on the free Odyssey app. Download it now.
Scaling Company, 9:51, Monday morning here on Talk Radio 1210 WPHT. We will find out who on Twitter today in just a moment, and also give our Game 6 Phillies predictions in a moment as well. First pitch 5:07 today. Once again, we get bumped out of prime time. Astros Rangers at 8:07, huh? Oh well.
I mean,
it's Game 7.
Yeah, I was just gonna say it's Game 7. Wouldn't you put it in prime time?
Yeah, 2 bigger markets: Dallas and Houston, Philadelphia and Arizona. Arizona kills it for everybody. There was actually a real compelling team playing the Phillies we might be in prime time, like if it was the Dodgers. All right, let's find out what's on tap for the Dawn Show, which is 9 minutes out this morning. What do we got lined up today?
Yeah, we'll talk about this controversial little Me Too not settlement that apparently was made and signed under the approval of Governor Josh Shapiro with a woman who had claimed sexual harassment. So we'll discuss that because, again, it just illustrates how the media, when it's Kavanaugh or it's somebody who's considered a conservative, the Me Too movement is all over the media. Mm-hmm. But when somebody signs a non-disclosure agreement and it involves, a high-profile person who was the governor's right-hand person, it's no problem.
Okay.
So we'll talk about that one. Right off after we update the very latest on the breaking news, there's some developments that I always want to update off the top of the 10. But then we'll talk to the Delaware County District Attorney candidate. It's Beth Stephanide. So the latest controversy, and I had broken the story last week as far as the antics that are going on in Delco. Okay. So we'll get to the bottom of that. And then 11 o'clock, Terry Tracy, President and CEO of Broad and Liberty. He's just a great interview because he has such inside information. He's talking to everybody and really looking at the big picture. Mm-hmm. You think about today's the last day, by the way, that you can make sure that you register to vote for Pennsylvania's November 7th. Okay. So everybody get out there and make sure you register. But talk to Terry Tracy, just looking out and his, what he predicts for the future, what he sees as we near about almost 2 weeks to Election Day here.
Okay. Very good. Dawn Show coming up at 10 o'clock this morning. Greg Stocker, let's wrap it up with Who Won Twitter today.
Who won Twitter?
In response to Taylor Swift in the stands yesterday, will Kelsey be wearing bright red lipstick next week? James Baginski writes that. So
I'm exhausted by that story.
I am too, but
stop.
The nation seems to love it.
I know. I was getting tweets all weekend from other media people that don't do what I do for a living saying, well, I don't see what the big deal is. Well, of course you don't. You never will. But anywho, not my battle to fight anymore. But I am trying to win back my money. I feel like Ben Stein from Win Ben Stein's Money. I'm just giving it away.
Yeah, you still owe Dawn 40. You're on the table owing Dawn 40 right now. So
it's in the house kitty.
That's
it's
true.
In the house kitty.
That's right. We keep it in the hopper, so to speak.
What's the house kitty?
It's like the little pot.
No, the little pot.
Yeah. Okay. It's like, it's like a rollover fund. We just keep it going until the end of the year.
Yeah, I know. I get it.
Yeah. I'm going to go Phillies tonight. It doesn't matter what the line is. The Aaron Nola is a minus 190 favorite, so you almost have to bet 2-1. I'll go Phillies for the win. I like the under tonight of 8 runs. Ooh. I think this will be low. I feel like in elimination games, people get a little tight, a little tense, conservative, not so much. Not a lot of offense. Give me the Phillies 3-1 tonight to beat the Diamondbacks. 3-1.
All right, I'm going to go the over. I don't think it's even going to be close. Okay. I think the Phillies are going to win 8-3 tonight. I think it's going to be a blowout.
Okay.
Dawn?
Okay, so I'll take I'll take this. I just have this weird feeling, and maybe because tomorrow is my mom's her birthday.
Oh, it is it?
I have this weird feeling that we're going to clinch the World Series ticket tomorrow.
Oh,
I think something's going to happen.
Okay.
So I have this weird vibe.
Dawn is taking the D-backs
Something weird's going to happen tonight. But I think we do win tomorrow.
Okay.
But I think they're going to take us to Game 7.
Wow.
We win it at home, and then boom.
This is 3 separate. I like that.
But you notice she didn't say the Phillies lose.
I'm not going to say that.
Yeah, she's like Mayorkas with the word crisis at the border. She won't say that word. I
can't say those words.
Uh-huh.
I'm just saying something weird and surprising it's going to happen. But we still, tomorrow in Game 7, we dominate, and then we go to the World Series starting on Friday.
Yeah, I'm always down for a Game 7. 2 best words in sports. But when it's my team, I get a little agitated.
All right,
that's my feeling.
All right, Dawn taking the D-backs.
It's
Greg,
like a psychic thing because I know nothing about anything with sports. It's just like,
which means you'll probably be right, and Greg and I look like the 2 schmucks here.
Greg taking the Phillies 8-3, and Nick taking the Phillies 3-1.
That's correct.
I have the over with the 8 points, and you have the under.
That's correct.
8 points. So,
all right,
we're all taking something different. I like this.
How about that?
I hope I'm wrong.
So Dawn, you understand? Oh well, no, you're gonna. So who? She owes you 40, or no? You
I
owe
owe
her
her
40.
If I'm correct, it's down to 20. I'd knock off
Okay.
$20 off of my deficit.
Gotcha.
$20 a game.
Well, we both have to pay her.
Well, that's okay. Yeah.
Just
Yes,
put
we
it.
would.
We'll put it in the pot.
Yeah. We'll keep it there.
And then give it to in March. We'll give it to Travis Mannion anyway.
Oh, there
Yeah,
we go.
there
I
we
like
go.
that. Look at that.
All right, my gambling fund's going to a good cause. I can live with that. It's better than
Right
going
on.
to Nunzio. All right, that'll do it for us here on this Monday morning. Stay tuned. The Dawn Show is coming up next. Have a great rest of your Monday, and we will see you tomorrow morning at 6 o'clock.
Good night, everybody.
Hi, this is Dom Giordano. You've heard me for years talk about